here with the apartment 5B covering her face. I don't grab. I've given up on it. So, but I try to hook it up. So it's good. All right, let's get ready to rock, y'all. What's good? What's good? What's good? Y'all tune in to Apartment 5B, hosted by your man Kel. Packed house as always. Always starting with my little sis. Ladies first. Porsche, what's going on, miss?
Not a whole lot, Kill. How are you?
No doubt, no doubt. Everything is good. Grab Lover, the youngest soul brother, Mount Vernon, New York, in the building. What's going on, good brother?
Word up. What's up? Yo, 4 Square Miles in the building representing one love to all the people. Let's rap tonight. That's what it is.
Yo, every time I see you, I still got to salute this I and I album, bro. It's a classic, man. I was listening to it the other day. Fake and Jack, bro. It's a classic album. It's one of those albums when we did the show on, albums that got shelved and didn't come out. But bro, if that album comes out the way it was supposed to come out after that Fake and Jack's video, bro, yeah, I just think the trajectory. So many things change in hip hop. If so many albums that got shelved really dropped when they were supposed to drop, because I to this day I still love that album to death. So again, salute for that. EddieFreestyle.com out of LA. What's going on, good brother?
Yo, man, I'm good, man. It's I'm putting out content. We got some dope stuff. I just had posted a couple of memories, hip hop memories joints. So yeah, man, check it out.
All right, no doubt. Vern out to ATL with the ill backdrop. What's going on, bro?
What's up, Trey Young? Ice cold, baby. Hey, what's going on?
See, now you just want to play because you got a franchise player that average more than 15 points a game, man. Now you just showing off, man. It's all good. And for the first time, I've been trying to get this brother on this show for the past 2-3 years. This is my man's from 92 Morgan State. I mean, the Minion crew. This is family to me. His crew has taken me in. I love them to death. Shy, what's going on, good brother?
I'm chilling, brother. Thanks for having me, man. This feels like a throwback from the WEAA days, man. Popping up on your show late at night and just chopping it up with you, man. I'm excited to be here today, brother. Appreciate you having me.
For folk who weren't there in the 90s, him and his crew would come through after the party, 3 a.m., come up to the radio station. We was on from 12 to 5 every Friday. So parents would come home from the club. They would always come through, chop it up with us. So you're right, bro. It's the funny thing is, and not to belabor this too long, but it's a blessing to be aging as well as we are. We're 46. And there are times when I'm around people and it's like, yo, Kill, remember when we used to do and remember this and remember that? And I'm like, yeah, that's true. But bro, we still alive. Like, let's keep doing it. You know what I mean? And I found myself in that place. And that's why I started doing these podcasts, because I found myself being like, damn, them strictly hip hop days and just being able to talk hip hop all night. So, it's just a challenge to anybody out there. There's no reason to live in the past. Whatever you was doing, you can find a way to still do it to this day. So definitely, man, it's a throwback. Thank you for being here. Let's get right into it. Porsche, you've been a topic picker for like the past 3 weeks in a row. You've been running Boston's out here. So what's the topic for tonight?
So the topic for tonight is I got it from when I was reading this book, which I have handy here. It's No Half Steppin', and this is this has become one of my favorite books ever. And the reason for that is it's all about the Latin Quarters. It's all about what happened at the Latin Quarters, the battles that took place, the MCs that came through, all of that. So
now, Porsche, here's the thing. The great, beautiful thing from our clubhouse the other day, people have been talking about how they've been getting educated through Apartment 5B, which is a blessing, because that's the reason we did it. Grab one of the young ladies, Mabiti, who was on with us last night, says she loved the Heavy D app. She learned so much about Hev. So, Porsche, since we're educating, what is the Latin Quarters for somebody out there who may not know?
The Latin Quarters is, was a club that was in New York, and it was the place to be for the period of, I want to say mid 80s to late 80s. And then it got shut down and a lot of things happened there. Like DJ Red Alert was the one who kind of had things, going and got things kind of happening there. And then would spin albums that dropped and would kind of not really book people. There was promoters for that, but he was, if you knew Red Alert, like you were pretty much kind of in, and then you could kind of attend, and there was like lineups out the door, wrapped around, and it was just like the place for that time period. And so
it was Buck Wild in there too.
yeah, like it was just fights broke
I got
out, people
stories.
got
I got a little
robbed, like
story.
it was just the, and for some reason, like it's hilarious when you read it. People knew they were going to get jumped and jacked for their gold. People knew there were going to be guns and violence, and a pretty high chance that you were going to get like into a fight. But yet it was the place to go, and every weekend everyone wanted to go. So it's kind of dope to read it. Anyway, so tonight's topic came from when I was reading this this book, and I actually finished this within hours. Like it's just such a dope read. So I recommend it for anyone who doesn't have it. Get it, read it. It's so good. So this one it's broken up into chapters and segments, and people talk about their experience with said topic or theme for that chapter. So when you get to the golden era, there's a point where they talk about KRS-One coming through. So Criminal Minded had just dropped. KRS-One comes through Latin Quarters. He gets on stage to battle Melly Mel. And the crowd goes crazy because KRS spits, and Melly Mel was like the guy prior to that. And all of a sudden KRS gets on stage, spits this rhyme in battle type form, and the crowd goes crazy. And Melly Mel hadn't even had his chance yet. So Red Alert kind of controls the crowd, gets Mel up there. He spits, but everyone's still going crazy for KRS. And that's when people are talking about it. So Big Daddy Kane is talking about it. KRS-One talks about it. Kane says that's when we knew that it had, like, hip hop had shifted, because KRS comes in with a totally different style of rapping. I think he kind of dropped some curse words that hadn't really been there before. So then that's when they kind of shifted to the golden era, and that chapter is called the golden era. So tonight's topic came from that. So I was kind of talking to Kill, and I was like, when did these shifts happen in hip hop? What were they? And it doesn't have to be like official shifts, and just for us, like personally, because we grew up with it since the earlier years, when did we feel a shift, or when did we kind of notice that things were different from when it was prior, and then it kind of catapulted a new style of either rapping or whatever. So that's kind of what I had in mind for tonight's topic.
All right, well, cool. Ladies first. What's your shift? What's your first shift?
I feel like I talk so much. Mine, and I think Kill, we've talked about it, and I think you probably have it on your list as well. I remember listening to rap in general, just rap music. So whether it was Run DMC is what got me into rap in the first place. But then I listened to things like Tone Loc, Fresh Prince, like anything that I could kind of get my hands on. So I remember I never once heard a curse word ever in rap prior to that. I don't remember it at all. And then all of a sudden NWA drops an album, and it was just totally different. Now, all of a sudden, it's very explicit. Now, my parents are like, wait a minute, what are you listening to? Before, it was cool because whatever I was listening to was fun. It was, the beat was dope and they didn't care. And then all of a sudden, this NWA album drops, and I didn't get it like from jump. I like the minute it dropped, I was kind of late. But when I started listening to it, my parents were like, the hell is this? It's still rap, but now it's like filthy. So then it started being a little bit different for me in terms of content. So that's when I felt the first little shift that I could remember.
Right. Yeah, you already know that's one of mine.
We've talked about it on previous episodes.
Yeah, and I mean, I think another thing about this show is kind of like the prequel to a bigger show I want to do. That's more like I'll probably even end up calling the show, because this is when I rocked with him, was I used to love her. One of the things I love about the song is he breaks down the different shifts of hip hop and where it went from this to this to this to this. So I want to do that for a lot of our younger listeners. But I'm gonna fall back and go last on this cursing front. Sha, how was that for you? Going from like I always say there's pre and there's post Straight Outta Compton. You know what I mean? And it's two totally different styles of MCing. What was that like for you being in New York? The pre where you may have Kane say, "Oh shit," or Rakim say I'm gonna tear shit up. It was one, maybe two curse words per song to Straight Outta Compton, which was just going. It was almost like going from Bill Cosby comedy to Eddie Murphy comedy, like in a snap of a finger. Like, what was that like for you, and why?
Well, it kind of opened the floodgate. I mean, we had a lot of cursing in rap, though. Even prior to that, I mean, Slick Rick, Feel Like a Prostitute was like one of those things that like you listened to, you was supposed to listen to, but we listened to it. And so when now it became more of a common thing that cursing was happening in rap, it just was more authentic to us because that's how we talk in the hood. Well, that's how people that were older than us talk. So it became more of our music as opposed to it being art. It became more like life for us. Like it was more realistic. So it was a shift that parents didn't really want us to listen to whatever, but it still felt like this is our music. Like this is us. It's the dudes on the corner. I was younger at the time, but still it was dudes on the corner, your older brother, folks that was around that was living the life. Now you can actually, the music was more relatable. So it was a shift, but it became like your Fresh Prince and folks like that was like how that's kind of pop and kind of like, fun stuff. And this here was more like, this is kind of how we talk in the hood. So it was authentic.
Yo, the thing I love, one of the million things I love about doing this show is always hearing different people's perspectives. Because the thing with me is prior to 7th grade, I was the good kid. I went to private school. I went to school. I came home. I practiced my DJ, and I didn't really run the streets until post 7th, 8th grade. So, it's bugged to hear, but like you said, if you in the hood and you got older brothers and they cursing, I learned how to curse through hip hop, through watching Delirious, through watching Beat Street. You know what I'm saying? So it's just always dope to hear because then you think that that's everybody's story, and then you find out it's not everybody's story. You know what I mean? So that's dope to get that perspective of it. Vern, what about you? What was your take from post Straight Outta Compton and everything like that?
I'm gonna even lump two other albums in there. I would say Too Short, and I'm gonna say 2 Live Crew, Nasty as They Want to Be. That's like I'd say what years was it? Like 80, 88, 89. Because I think I want to say I was in 11th grade, and I remember on the bus joking like, man, I don't want to hear no album where they just cussing me out the whole album, and that's kind of how NWA was. I think, and they hit on something big because teenagers are in that rebellious age, and we want to hear it as nasty as it could be, as lewd as it can be, as foul as it can be. And in hindsight, man, I went back a couple of weeks ago and listened to a Too Short album, and I couldn't listen to all of it, man. I'm like, man, this is disgusting. You flip.
This fool said Phil Florida, Phil.
Yeah, but that was definitely a shift, and you could see where, like you said, prior to that, I mean, you have a curse word here or there, but now it's like the record company. No, get back in there. You need 10 more cuss words on this. I need 2 more MFs. I need 3 B. You know what I'm saying? And it just kind of got gratuitous after a while. But I did see that as a shift right there.
All right, no doubt. Eddie, what about you? Because at this time, you're still in Brooklyn, right, Eddie?
I'm still in Brooklyn. So once again, I'll remind you guys how young I am. I'm 40, but younger than y'all. So in '88, I was 8 years old. So
I keep forgetting the youth. Yeah. The youth.
So it's actually the interesting thing is it felt like it kind of grew up with me.
Yeah.
Because my first listening to hip hop, like I remember my dad playing the old Sugar Hill Gang and Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5 around the house. Like at that time, I didn't relate it to it being rap or hip, because a lot of it was similar to disco or whatever, but the content, it was real friendly. And then, you had the DJ Jazzy Jeffs and Fresh Prince and, all these other artists, and not much, if any, cursing. I remember, the first time I remember really hearing something like super explicit, I think it was the second NWA album.
Oh yeah, Niggas for Life.
Yeah, that was.
So I went out that year, or I guess when that came out, I had went out to the Fresh Air Fund, like summer camp. And one of the camp counselors was playing that. In specific, he played the song She Swallowed It. And, you know that hook and everything.
How old were you when you heard that?
So that's 90. That's 1990. That's 90
or 90. Yeah, so I was like 10 or 11. Yeah.
You still remember that? You see what happened?
I still remember
that.
Yeah, don't matter, just don't matter. Yeah.
Rap
Yeah,
dad.
it don't matter.
You see what happened?
Right.
It was crazy. So,
Yeah,
so
like,
after
that's
that, it was
insane.
like, yo, like 10-year-old me was just like mind blown.
Right. I mean, it's funny. By the way, Grab. What about you? Because the interesting thing about you, bro, is by this time, Hev is in the game. So your family is in the game. Pete is in the studio making beats. So you know, Hev kept it clean. You know, CL and Pete kept it clean. You know, so what was it like for you to see NWA, but then right down the block is your cousin Heavy D doing, you know, Girls They Love?
I mean, we still kept it on what we was on, you know, for the most part. But it was kind of a jolt. It was definitely a jolt to the game, you know what I mean, when they came out and were coming out with that language. But what I wanted to research was, did Schoolie D curse in his records? And were his records before the NWA records? Because I know that Ice-T modeled 6 in the morning after, I believe it was PSK.
Right. It's funny. Somebody asked me that on the timeline today, and offhand, I want to say yes.
Yes,
but
he did.
I'm not 100% sure. Because here's
I know
the thing.
Ice-T did model that song after PSK, but I'm wondering, you know, was he the first one to curse in a record? You know what I mean?
I think the thing is we're looking at almost two things now. Like, who was the first to curse, and then who was NWA? NWA just took it to a whole nother level. You know, I remember when Dougie Fresh and Slick Rick with Lottie Dottie with your wrinkle pussy. Like, there were curses in it, but it would just be a little curse there or a curse there. I mean, here Lottie Dottie, like Eddie said, at 10 in 84, I'm 10. I hear with your wrinkle pussy. I didn't know they were saying wrinkle pussy for like 20 years. Like, this is something like I just found out, you know. So that's the
with De La Soul too. I just found out.
Right. So I think Schoolie cursed. But with Straight Outta Compton, I mean, when my man, I'll never forget, my man, I'm in 9th grade, my man Jerome came
to me in 88.
Album
like, of it. It's the whole
album. Like, the song was
and like derogatory like the terms, and not just a curse, just like phrases of derogatory energy. You know what I mean? Like whole phrases and, you know, whole bars. You know what I mean? So yeah, I understand what you mean. Yeah,
and I want to say that NWA. And I want to say that NWA in general was just a little more mainstream than Schoolie D ever was, you know? So you have more people listening to NWA than no one's thinking, oh, wait, Schoolie D had already been cursing. The reach was, I think, a little bit less, right? So I think there was a difference with that too.
You know,
and then the thing too is you're thinking about when you think of Straight Outta Compton, crazy motherfucking name Ice Cube. First bars off the bat, like we didn't even get 10 seconds into the song, and it's a crazy motherfucker already. You know what I mean? And then you go straight into Fuck the Police, and it was like, God damn, like it was like mind blowing to me. Vern, you were about to say something though?
I love Port's point because the same thing happened like when WAP came out. People like, you remember Mom's Mabel? Yeah, we remember that there were albums like that, but you had to go in your basement and listen to a Richard Pryor album when everybody was asleep. It wasn't
playing at 11 in the morning.
Yeah, it wasn't so widely accessible.
During brunch.
Right. You wasn't here
whopping waffles.
They're being disingenuous.
Whop chicken and waffles. Like what? Yo, what? Where we at? Yo, where we at? Not Sue's Rendezvous. You're not at Roscoe's. This is not Sue's, right?
And then the funny thing is, and the reason why I always look at it as pre and post Straight Outta Compton is, I think when most people think of G-Rap, they think of cursing. You know what I mean? And what a lot of people don't realize is G-Rap's whole first album, Road to the Riches, no cursing.
No cursing.
You know what I mean? Now, somebody out there is going to say,
Just
you know,
listening to
G-Rap album dropped in 89. That's true, but it was recorded in 87 and 88. We're still in the glory years of hip hop where 12 inches really made up your whole album. So even though it dropped in 89, it was made before. But then when you get to Wanted Dead or Alive, which dropped in 89, it was nonstop cursing. Like, Eddie, you talking about Don't Swallow It. Talk Like Sex from G-Rap. Me and Penny always talk about that was like our sexual education class right there. You know what I'm saying? So it's and again, and me and Ev always go back and forth, and we don't know which one it is. I want to ask G-Rap one day, was it you wanted to curse and Cold Chillin' was like, nah, I don't curse, that's not cool in hip-hop? Or did you not want to curse and then the label came to you and said, okay, you gotta curse more because Straight Outta Compton is popping, this is going on, we need you to curse more? So I've always just been Ev is of the mindset that G-Rap always wanted to curse and the label was like, nah, tone that shit down. I was the opposite. I'm like, he probably didn't want to. I don't know which one it is, but I would love to know, because that's what happened for a lot of the industry, is that it shifted because now the parental advisory sticker, prior to Straight Outta Compton, you didn't want that on your album. It was like that was a death blow. If you got that sticker on your album, it was a wrap. You wasn't going to be able to move units. Kids weren't going to be able to buy it. You weren't going to be able to get people to buy it. After Straight Outta Compton, that was the goal. That was the goal platform. It's like, you have to try to get this sticker, because if you can get the sticker, we've all heard it, no promotion is bad promotion. I think Luke is the one who said that. You can boycott me all day. You can run over my albums in the street with bulldozers. It just makes kids want to buy it more. So it actually became, you know, that was the goal, to get the parental advisory sticker. And then two, for me with Straight Outta Compton, it also was that this was the first time that the suits, meaning the record labels, started to see how to market hip hop. Prior to Straight Outta Compton, it kind of was like, just go in the studio and do whatever you want. Like, that's it. Just rap. We don't know what to do with it. But once that popped, I remember hearing Straight Outta Compton and being like, yo, what's Compton? I've never even heard of Compton. Like I always tell people, all my cousins was in Brooklyn. I don't have cousins on the West Coast, so I had never even heard of Compton. And then a year after Straight Outta Compton, every day on Rap City, it's like 8 new groups from Compton. You know, so it was like, boom, now the record industry is like, okay, we got something. We need more rappers from Compton. We need more people to curse. You know, now we begin to see the formula of, okay, this is, you know, it's almost like Weird Science, which for people out there who don't know, it was an 80s movie where 2 guys built a woman through a computer. It's like, now we can build these groups. You know, Compton is popping. I think it was something like CBO, like something. There was a big fat dude who was from Compton. Like, it just came, Compton just became the jump off for everything that was coming out. So to me, that was also one of the first places where the industry could now say, okay, I think we kind of got something here on how to market this and make a lot of money and pull it in.
And then CMW, right? Compton's Most Wanted.
CMW, yep. Compton's Most Wanted. I mean, we just, a whole slew of rappers came from Compton.
South Central Cartel.
I mean, there was so many groups that we're going to forget about. Yeah, it's so many groups that we're going to forget about because they just got signed because they was from Compton. And it was like, let's just get this out there like that. So definitely the cursing thing.
I mean, I wonder if, so that was a big shift in terms of the record companies accepting it and putting it out. But there's always been cursing in rap. I mean, from like the park jams and stuff like that, the way people were rapping, the way they talked, just could never really get on wax. So I wonder what really made that pop, where companies were like, hey, you know what, you know, we're okay with that sticker. Now to your point, you know, okay, we can market this, we can blow this thing up, because I go to park jams in East New York and in Queens, and cats was cursing when they was rhyming. This was from way back in the early 80s. I mean, that was just how we talked. And so it's always been a matter of when it actually
and to think about it, when Hev came about, it was a point where, you know, you were trying to get on the radio, you know what I mean? So you had to fall back from the curse, you know what I mean? Because his goal was to get the song on the radio. So I think he just trained himself to curse. Because he probably, I mean, I'm sure he cursed back in the day, you know what I mean? But once I think he started aiming for the radio play, he trained, I think he just trained his mind to write without cursing.
Kind of how like you curse in the street, when you come home, you know not to. I got you.
I think
wasn't it a 2 Live Crew with the parental advisory sticker, and they had that big lawsuit and all that?
Yeah,
and,
the thing is, I can't have a real.
shifted.
I
Would have
can't
been
remember
bad if
that
they'd have lost. Sorry.
because that was that whole band in the USA thing. So
Yeah.
I want to say like that was like around that same Compton time. Like Vern, the album you're talking about, I remember. But like Portia was saying, it wasn't super big at that time. You know, I
Right.
think by the time C. Dolores Tucker got in there, it kind of like everything just got thrown in there. So it was two live crews, NWA was all that. But Sha, I think to your point too, it was probably one of those things. And now it's funny because I'll talk about this Busy Bee battle. But like you're right, like cats were cursing in it in hip hop. But I think like Grab said, to get the radio play, it was kind of like nobody's gonna sit there and edit this out for you. Now with the record labels, now that means we got to come up with a clean edit. So it just became more work versus it just being, because back even at Strictly Hip Hop, when they would give it, even though we were underground station, college station, we still couldn't have curses. You know what I mean? So when we get an album, I mean, there'll be days we'd be like, all right, now who's gonna sit here? Because we talking about splice and tape editing. We ain't talking about this new Pro Tools and we used to take time and we like, nah, we ain't playing that shit. Like that's too much work for us to even sit here and edit all of this. And we're an underground hip hop show. So, I know at the same time, no commercial hip hop show is going to sit there and take the time to, do all of that, because Run DMC, I don't think there was too much cursing in Run DMC before Peter Piper. Like, I don't think there was any curses in their first two albums.
Yeah, well, if you
Not very many.
if you say you heard these rhymes, we're going to have to fight.
Because I just made, and the thing about that, the funny thing about that is, to Sha's point, here we go. That was live at the Funhouse, so that was a park jam.
Yeah.
So it was actually recorded live. So it wasn't even like, this is gonna be a radio song for us. It's just like, we in the park and we can do what we want. But yeah, man, I mean, I think that whole cursing thing, it definitely was a shift. Because like I said, for me, straight out, that's where I learned how to curse, was straight out of Compton. You know what I mean? Like, so that, I mean, and I don't know this to be true. Y'all help me. I want to say that's where the word bitch really started to come into hip hop. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so.
Probably so.
Again,
that wasn't
I
a
didn't
taboo word, man. That was a taboo word.
Yeah. So I want to say it may, and if not straight out of Compton, because I think A Bitch Is a Bitch was off that NWA and the Posse album. So it may have been there, but again, I don't remember hearing the word bitch in hip hop like prior to NWA.
I don't remember hearing the word like mofo like in hip hop prior to that, and that was, to me, was like the worst possible word you could ever say, and they were just saying it like it was any other word. You know what I mean? Like it was just everywhere, and I was like, how do I hide this from my parents?
But you know what, Ed, back to your point, Ed, which may be dope. Thinking about it like this, remember, Easy is starting Ruthless Records, so this is his label. You know what I mean? So this is not we work for MCA or I'm signed to this label. It's we're starting this record label. We can do whatever we want to do.
Right.
You know what I mean? So we don't have to get the okay or the suits to tell us you can't say, you can't do. Like, no, this is our shit. So just like in that scene from Straight Outta Compton, the police stomped them down. Boom, let's go right in the studio, make Fuck the Police. Like, let's go. Like, there is no middleman to go through because we doing this ourselves. So that may be, to your point, why it was able to happen like that. Because I think for the majority of hip hop artists, they were trying to get deals. You know what I mean? Where Eazy-E is a drug dealer and he's taking his drug money to start a label. So it's kind of like you can do whatever you want. So, but yeah, definitely, Porsche, that cursing in hip hop is dope. Sha, what's one of the shifts that you got in the music culture?
All right. One of the shifts I got, actually, you just kind of touched on it. It's not a particular, it's not one specific moment, but it's about self-publishing. Like in this current day, I mean, back, so you had Eazy-E, you had folks in the past that would have their own record label and they could promote. But like today, it's like you could publish on a whim, right? And so now people are able to control their own brands. They're not beholden to record companies. It's just, it feels so different now. I mean, albums or songs drop whenever because people have direct access to publishing. So I feel like that's been a huge shift in just the format for, like how you said earlier, how, singles made albums. Now it's just people just putting out product. And so it's been a huge shift.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I think the internet plays a huge part in that. You know what I mean? Like, because now we can, get our music out. The only problem with that is that, like I always tell folk, you can have your own record label, but at the same token, you don't know how to market your music. You know what I mean? Like that was the thing, you know. And even back in the day, you know, the record label was really nothing but a loan. It was just a bank giving you, you know, X amount of dollars to make this project. You know what I mean? And now you got to make the money back. But at the same token, after Guru and Primo was done with their album, they could just give it to the marketing department, and then they could go to work and make sure it can get heard. You know what I mean? Whereas now, you as the artist, you have to be ready to be the marketing department, the promo department, and most people aren't built like that. Most people are just like, yo, I'm just an MC. Like, I don't know. Now I got to go out here and politic with a whole bunch of people. You know, all those years of doing the EAA, no rapper ever called me like, yo, Kill, can you chart my joint? It was the promo people. That's who I was cool with. You know, Mr. Dave was at Payday. You know, it was a whole Rodimus was at Job. It was a whole bunch of not A&Rs, but the promo people who made those phone calls. You know what I mean? Now you don't have that. So it's a gift because you are able to do that, but then it's also a curse if you yourself or you don't have a team around you who's able and has the ability to now get this stuff heard. Because I'm talking about with a cat on Twitter about today. If you're an asshole, then people ain't gonna play your shit. You know what I mean? So that's the thing. Like in all the years of me doing radio, I can't say I ever ran into one promo person who was an asshole. I ran into a lot of MCs who were assholes. You know what I mean? But that promo department, there were no assholes. Everybody was cool as hell. Anything you needed, they got you, you know, and everything like that. But you're right. That's a huge shift. And I think it started with Easy, with Master P. Salute to Master P and Baron Davis about to buy Reebok for like $3 billion right now, which is crazy. You know, so I think a lot of those people kind of set it in place for people to kind of, you know, do their own thing and, you know, do that shift. Porsche, what do you think about that shift now people being able to put out music themselves?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to add to what Sharad said is that also the frequency at which people are putting out projects, right? So when the labels were kind of not controlling, but, you know, there was contracts in place and they were dealing with a lot of different, you know, MCs, there was space in between each project. So now with this, and this is a giant shift because we're consuming music at an astronomical rate right now, which we never ever did before. Like we would, if we got two projects, like when DMX in 97, I think it was 97, dropped both those albums, people were like mind blown because how does the same MC, 98, sorry, how does the same MC drop two dope albums, full albums, not like, you know, one with 4 tracks and one with 16. No, it was like 2 full studio albums. And in the same year, that was like a treat. You know what I mean? So, but now I think that the biggest part of what Sharad was saying is that I feel the shift is also the frequency at which people are putting out projects, right? And at the rate at which us fans are consuming the music. That's also kind of mind-blowing. So just to kind of pack that on to what he said.
Grab, tell me, good brother, you had to deal with the label politics of the I&I album getting shelved. What would you say? What do you like? Do you like the previous way of doing things, having to deal with a label, having to do those things, or would you like the mindset of being able to drop an album, but you have to be everything? You know what I mean? It's kind of like me and Nay's godfather, Jace. He's ever since I've known him, he's always owned his own businesses. And I'm like, I just don't have that entrepreneur mindset. Like, that's just not in me. And he's like, look, yo, I don't care if I don't know where my next paycheck's coming from. I'm not working for somebody else. You know what I mean? He's like, you know, I like knowing that every 2 weeks I get X amount of dollars. Whereas somebody who's an entrepreneur may go 3 months without getting paid and then getting a lump sum, or they don't know if they're going to get a lump sum. And again, it just comes down to personality. So from you being in the industry and seeing the politics, what would you know, what you know now? What would you rather like? Still having the machine behind you so you're able to just focus on the art, or you being the machine, but you've got to focus on the art and you have to be the machine. You have to do the art and then make sure it can be heard. Which one do you prefer?
I think I would prefer the latter because being in a capitalistic society, you're trying to make as much off of yourself before someone else makes that much off of you. You know what I mean? So you're looking at wanting to create, be as much of part of the creative process as possible. Backing off of what Portia said, she was going somewhere when you said they were controlling. Yes, they were controlling Portia. They were controlling the faucet of how music was released. You know what I mean? And as of today, they've lost control of that faucet,
Right.
and that's the shift. You know what I mean? That's kind of saying the same shift as Sherrod, but that is the shift, that they lost control of that faucet. Now it's like, you know, Eddie, if he wanted to put out an album and Vern wanted to put out an album, Eddie put out one tomorrow, Vern put out one Thursday, Kill Friday, Sherrod Saturday, you Sunday, me Monday. You know what I mean? We could do it like that. You know what I mean? So they definitely have lost control of that. So that's why they dress up the artists that they have captured. They dress them up really big and, you know, put all this money in their hands and things of that nature. A lot of these guys are asking for their advance in cash. You know what I mean? And then they go and, you know, do their whole money thing. You know what I mean? When they flash it or whatever. But that's why I sort of lure more to that side instead of more to people doing it themselves. You know what I mean? And because people are eating better doing it themselves. You know what I mean? So look at my boy Tech Nine, you know what I mean, and his partner, whatever. He got a partner, you know, and they got Strange Music. That thing is very strong out there in Kansas City, Missouri. Very strong. So, yeah, I think
will say this.
a lot.
I will say this too, that I think one thing that people have to understand now in being your own boss is you got to pay to play. And that's the thing that a lot of people don't understand. You know, if me and T want to get our kitchen redone, we got to pay to play. You know what I mean? So if you want to be your own record label, like nobody talks about this, but I say it to people all the time because I've had people come to my teen center and tell my teens, you know, you could be the next Nipsey Hussle. Excuse me, you do know Nipsey sold drugs, right? Like, we just want to be clear about that. So when you're telling my kid they could be Nipsey Hussle, that he gonna have to sell some drugs. You know, oh, you too could be Jay-Z. Excuse me, Jay-Z sold some drugs here and there, up and down 95. Just FYI, because you're not making. I always tell people this: if Jay-Z is super talented as he is, but he's the UPS man, we don't get Reasonable Doubt because the UPS man ain't gonna be able to afford D&D Studios. He ain't gonna be able to afford Ski Beats and Primo Beats and Clark Kent Beats. That's all drug money. So it's just like too. For people out there watching and for people out there who want to do the indie route, just understand, I'm not saying sell drugs. You may have to take out a loan. You may have to take out a loan against your 401k and say, hey, I really believe in myself. Here's 10 G's that I got, and I'm an investor into myself. But you're going to have to do that. That's why we all needed record labels, because we needed, like Rap said, we needed the advance. The first thing you wanted after you signed that deal was, where's the advance? Like, let's go. Like, I got bills to pay. I got baby moms. I got cars to buy. I got strip clubs to go to. So just keep in mind that if you want to go the indie route, you just got to make sure that you have that backing, you know, behind you. And that's the part of the game that a lot of people don't want to talk about. They don't want to talk about. And again, I'm in no way. I love Nipsey Hussle. I'm not shitting on the brother. I'm just saying we have to keep in mind that Nipsey just didn't just, you know, work at this, you know, 7-Eleven and was able to put out these projects and be able to pay for this stuff. That money had to come from somewhere. What are you gonna say, Rap?
And I would say this too. Learn how a bank works.
Something happened, bro.
Oh, am I muted? Can you hear me?
Can y'all hear Rap, or is it just me?
I can hear him.
I can't hear nobody now. The hell? Hold on.
You good? Can you hear me now?
All right. Yeah. I got y'all.
Got it? All right.
Okay. I was gonna say to the also the artists coming up or captain, whatever direction they choose, learn how a bank works. Learn how a bank operates, because if you're going to get with a label, that's basically what you're getting with. You're getting with a bank. What they're giving you up front, what they're giving you is a loan. All right, they're trying to make money off of you, and if you're jumping into that, you must understand that. That means you already know that. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to preach or tell you, preach to the choir, none of that. But
I grab preach because they need to hear it.
Learn how a bank works. You know what I mean? That's one thing I wish I would have learned a little better when I went into what I went into. You know what I mean? Learn how a bank works. You know what I mean? So learn that. And then that's what you'll understand how a label works, a record label works.
Were you gonna say that?
I was gonna say one thing that I've noticed with so many artists these days go on the independent route, either by necessity. It's different now because with the labels and not getting much off of streaming. I noticed a lot of artists that go that route. They're more humble these days. They're more approachable. I think at least what it appears to me is that they have more appreciation for their fans. Because they kind of, you're on a major label, you're getting a big advance, like Rap said, the label was hyping you up, and then all the fans, going gold, going platinum, like it's giving everyone a big head. They think they're untouchable, but I think artists these days are way more humble because they're doing it themselves. What were you gonna say, Grant?
I was gonna say, as an independent artist, you understand where your money's coming from.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it makes you kind of, it makes you more humble to deal with the people that you deal with. You know what I mean? That's why I'm the way I am on Twitter and the way I am, period. You know what I mean? Because I understand where my support comes from, not just financial, emotional, whatever it is. I understand where it comes from. So I'm appreciative of that. So I try to show that. You know what I mean? Whereas a label will shield you from that. Like you said, the shield is them telling, oh yeah, they love you, man. They love you. You're doing your thing. Keep doing your thing. You know what I mean? And really, they're talking about the numbers. Like if the numbers are moving good, then yeah, they're gonna keep telling you that people love you. But really, it's just they could be copping it that one time and saying, man, this is trash, and throw it away. You know what I mean? But it's a sale. You know what I mean? So you just have to be mindful of that. You know what I mean? And move accordingly.
And then at the end of the day, no matter what route you choose to take, all you need to know about the record industry by Donald Passman has been the industry Bible since the 90s. My OG Ray at the radio station gave it to me in like 93, 94 to read. Master P, this is the book that he made all his artists read. So whether you go the record label route, whether you go the indie route, you just got to do the knowledge on both fronts. Because Tip told you in 90, record companies are shady. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You felt for those artists because, like, Tip probably signed his first record deal at 15. I mean, how old was Pete when he signed his deal, Grab?
Probably like 16, 17 at the most. Yeah. He might have been. No, he might have been. He might have been like 18.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, even at 18, you know what I mean? You got cats. My daughter's 15. I can't imagine they don't be signing any type of record deal. So I feel for those artists. But in 2020, if you getting jerked, my nigga, that's on you. I'm not trying to be rude or anything, but people been telling y'all that the record industry is shady for 30 years. And if y'all ain't caught on to that with YouTube and the internet, there's no excuse for nobody to get jerked in 2021 unless you just don't want to do the knowledge and get jerked. Vern, which one of your shifts in hip hop, good brother?
It might not be a major shift, but it's one that I noticed. Nobody was smoking weed to talk about smoking weed like that till the Chronic came out, bro. I mean, it just again, we know. I mean, my parents was smoking weed with Parliament Funkadelic all through the 70s or whatever. But in the music, nobody was talking about it and heralding it and doing it. And then I saw with my own eyes people around me like smoking weed way more after the Chronic came out than before. So that's a shift that I would say.
Yeah, I call that shift the Heineken and Blunt era shift. Yeah. Because it was that ass grab. I'll go. It was the Chronic.
To the man.
Redman. Like between the Chronic and Redman's first album, everything was about blunts. Everything. I mean, again, Shy just makes me feel like the sheltered child because I'm like, I didn't know nothing about weed like that until the Chronic. You know what I mean? I didn't know. You know what I mean? So even with 40s, niggas always drunk 40s in the hood. But to me, it wasn't until like Boys in the Hood came out. Then it really was like, okay, you gotta get a 40. Then St. Ives came out, and it was a rap. You know what I mean?
Commercial with me, yo. I see commercial with me. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so now you 100% right because I always say that Heineken, something shifted between New York hip hop because we went from, I always say, like, people forget G-Rap had the TCF crew, his dancers. You know what I mean? You watch Road to the Riches, they doing dance routines, and this is the hardest nigga in the game. You know what I mean? But then fast forward 3 years, Ain't nobody got no dances no more. Scoob and Scrap is gone. TCF is gone. You know, nobody wants to see Kid and Play no more. Now everybody's Heinekens and blunts. You know,
they also talk about that dance crew in the Latin Quarters book in No Half Steppin'. They do talk about that as well.
Right. You know what I mean? So it got played out, and hip hop just became a lot harder. So like, what
Right.
yeah, you know, like Vernon, the weed smoking and Heinekens. Like I said, if Nas drops in 91, his little brother Jungle is doing dance routines on stage. You know what I'm saying? Drops in 94, Jungle's on stage with 50 other Queensbridge niggas. That was not the shit to do in the 80s. In the early 90s. You didn't come on stage with 20 niggas half drunk, blowing weed, smoke in the air. Nah, you came out and you put on a show. Them Fresh Press shows and them Jazzy Jeff and Fresh Prince and them Stetsasonic and Public Enemy, Heavy D. Show. You didn't just come out and this 30 Mount Vernon niggas on the stage with Have, you know what I mean? No, it was a show. And somehow, some way, that Heineken and Blunt era just is shifted to let's just bring every nigga from Queensbridge with us and they just gonna get on the stage and bop with us. So I'm with you 100% on that, bro. Rap, you was about to say something?
Yeah, I had said in a rhyme one time we went from drinking and smoking to smoking and drinking, because as you remember, when in the 80s, late 80s, it was like about 40s, all and just old E, and they had a song "Drinking Old Gold." It was after I Know You Got Soul, so it was like drinking was the thing, 40, and then like you said, it went from that to just smoking and drinking, then the blunt and I said that in a rhyme, so yeah, it's funny that we mentioned that.
Yeah, but you're right, Vern, because everybody at Morgan. That's my freshman year, 92, when Red came out. Everybody was smoking. You know what I mean? Like we was just everywhere. Shy, what you say about that, bro?
It's the truth, man. Funny thing is, I've never smoked, yo, and I don't know how I made it through Morgan, because that was definitely the smoking era. Everybody around, it was just a thing. It didn't even seem illegal. It was just what everybody was doing.
Let me explain something to you. One day I'm walking from Lock Raven to campus smoking a blunt, and niggas pull up on me like, "Nigga, what is you doing?" I'm like, "What?" They like, "You fucking smoking weed while you walking?" Like, it literally didn't, like you said, it didn't even feel illegal. Like, it's like a crackhead walking down the street just smoking crack. Like, I literally am walking to class smoking a blunt. Like, oh damn, right? Like, but yeah, it was. So you never smoked, bro?
No, I never did, man.
No, that's dope. I don't know how you made it through.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Crew was deep. It was deep. That's crazy. Ed, what's one of your shifts, good brother?
All right, my shift is mainstream versus the underground. There's always been an underground in hip hop. I'm not gonna say like there was a point where the underground, but so to get into it, I gotta start at like when Biggie and Bad Boy. So I feel like Biggie became the blueprint for the shiny suit and the mainstream sound. You have the whole structure of the album and all that stuff. So then there was the rebellion, and you've heard it. You heard it on The Roots, What They Do. You heard it on De La Soul, Stakes is High, and probably a few other songs. But then when the label, Jack, right? But then you had Rawkus and Def Jux and a few other labels that popped up like around late 90s, right? I'll say it was like around 97 or so. That was when it really shifted and split. And it's something that you always mention, Kill, like that's when, people start making kind of decisions, like you rolling with them or you rolling with them, and that's where, the whole backpacker, I know, the history, the term backpacker meant something else. Like, hip hop, if you had a backpack, you had something in there, you know what I mean? But then the term backpacker was for, these underground MCs on these independent labels, and all that. So, I felt like that was a big shift, because then all these underground MCs became the more of the hip hop purists. We're going to keep it boom bap. We're going to keep, this sound, the essence of the real hip hop, real hip hop. And we still kind of dealing with that now, folks out there, drop a boom bap album and it's like, I'm bringing back real hip hop,
My bad, y'all.
Hey, where'd it go, bro?
Now, my bad. I was grabbing a magazine. It kind of brings back to this issue of the source, where it was like the underground. You see, it says it's the underground issue. You know, when you got Black Thought, you got Mosh, you got Monch. You know, and this whole joint was just strictly about just talking about, you know, the underground. You know why Black Thought won't quote unquote sell out, or you know why they rhyme about what they rhyme about and everything like that. Yo, I can show you how old this joint is. Look at this cell phone that they got up here. Like,
Wow.
you know what I mean? That's how old school this joint is. But not Eddie, you're 100% right. And to me, a lot of that shift started with Jay's Hard Knock Life album. That was one of the first times I really felt the shift at Morgan, because normally, and Shy knows, we'd get on the bridge, we'd be at the station, and we'd all be heralding the same music. When that Hard Knock Life album came out, it was a split. Like my OG, a kid called Roots, he was with that Swiss beat sound. You know what I mean? And me and Bezo and Shy was like, nah, man, that's whack. Like, what is you talking about? You know, with the whole, you know, Swiss beat, that shit is whack. JR, what's good, brother?
Hey y'all, what's up? Hey,
Hey, what's up, man?
What's going
Let's
on?
go, JR. Let's go,
Yeah,
JR.
Hey,
And the-
family, what's
and the
going
Knicks
on?
won
What's
tonight.
up? What's up?
What it do?
Hey,
It's
brother.
the Knicks
And the
night.
Knicks won tonight.
Rob, what's
What
going
is-
on?
They did?
You just messed up the whole
Woo!
Man, yep.
Mess up the flow,
Sorry,
good
my brother.
I told you, jump on when you was done. Jump on. But to me, that album was really the first time that I saw people in my own crew beefing. Like, nah, that shit whack. Like, nah, that Swiss Beats is dope. Nah, that keyboard shit is whack. And it was bugged because I'm not a fan of that album at all. You know what I mean? And I know other people who feel like that's Jay's best work. You know what I mean? So I think that shift happened. And then, like you said, Eddie, the whole Bad Boy era, you had that, because I know people. Vegas said like he wasn't really checking for De La with Stakes is High and all of that shit during that time, because it was like they was hating. But then you got other people who was like, yo, I wasn't even checking for Biggie and Jet. Like it was a divide down the middle. And prior to that, like I said, we all got along with each other. We all was like, yo, Return to Boom Bap drop, yo, shit crazy. Into the Woo drop, crazy. Midnight Marauders. Everybody is agreeing on everything. Then it's like, boom, this Hard Knock Life album dropped, and it was just like, whoa, like. That was the first time I know for me, I saw people being like, nah, you know, and then now being able to look back and see people saying like, nah, I ain't fuck with that De La album. Or another album that right there was J. Rue's second album, which You're Playing Yourself. You know what I'm saying? You got a lot with One Day, with that first single One Day. Niggas wasn't feeling that. Like, oh, you calling names too? Like, you know, let's go to Puffy and see if Bad Boy. Let's see if Puff knows what's up, because he's the one getting him drunk and fucking his mind up. You know what I mean? Like, you had people making that music so you're right, Ed, that was a huge, huge split.
Right. And then Biggie, didn't Biggie call out the Roots? He was like, man, I mess with y'all.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't like do it like in a rhyme, but it was like, damn, that you know, that video kind of hurt, you know, because I'm all co-signing y'all, and now you trying to like take shots at me and everything like that. And for me personally, I didn't even look at like taking shots. I just thought the shit was funny. To me, it was just like, yo, it's funny because this is what you niggas look like. You know, you look like you got to have the pit bull shot. You got to have
the obligatory pool.
And then after that, like then they had the version of the video. They had the version of the video without the captions. And I'm not sure if that was like supposed to be Damage Control or something. Right. But the one with the captions was official though.
Yeah, I mean, that was it. And I mean, the bad part of it, man, was that, again, even if there was a split, that it could be like, yo, you get your money and we gonna get our money. I think it was just when you love this culture so much, you're looking at it like, damn, why y'all doing that? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, and I love J. Rue for the fact that he said that. That's one of my favorite lines. Let's go see if Puff knows what's up, because he's the one getting him drunk and fucking his mind up. Like, I heard that. I was on 95 going back to Morgan, listening to Cosmic Kev coming from Philly, and I heard that. I was like, oh, shit, this nigga's calling names. Like, I'm with it. But then you also see after that, J. Rue kind of, you know, faded in obscurity, because the sad part is the powers that be can definitely put that, you know, you playing that song.
That's what happened too.
I'm not giving you no more Bad Boy. Flex, play that One Day. You don't get no more Bad Boy records. You know what I mean?
They said that's what happened.
Yeah, you gotta also understand the politics of that too. You know, happening like that. JR, give me a shift in music, man. R&B or hip hop, whatever Whatever.
The one that I can come off the top. When about 80s, when Kashif did his sound, that was kind of a shift when R&B happened because we came from our disco era, and he kind of made it post disco and all that. So he kind of shift. It was a big shift after that because everybody was kind of doing the same thing with disco, and then once Kashif kind of took what Stevie was doing in the 70s and brought it to the 80s and added something to it. So that was kind of.
I'm gonna get right to you, Grab. But JR, real quick, give them some of the Kashif songs that you're talking about. Give them some.
You talk about "I'm in Love" with Evelyn Champagne King. You're talking about basically Melba Moore with "Love Coming at You."
So Fine.
Yes.
So
So Fine by Howard Johnson.
Johnson.
Yeah. Then that's why Clive went to Whitney, because he gave us some stuff. You know what I'm saying? So he changed that shift because everybody was doing the same beat, same all this. And once Kashif used that synthesizer and really started knocking with it, then it changed the sound. Then that was it. Then everybody started to try to find Kashif's sound and do what he was doing. And people did it. And that's when you had Jimmy and Terry come in, and then they did their thing. And before then, you had Leon Silvers that was doing their thing with Shalimar and all that. So
that's why I love him. That's why I love him.
It's off the dome, and it's off the dome.
Yeah,
tell it.
You just come in. You want the tithes and offerings this week. You come to the party.
I know. I need my money burning from last week.
Yes.
Came in and then
I had tithes for you on Friday, man.
Knocked it off the top. But now I think one of the things that you bring up, nobody gives Kashif his props, man.
No.
You don't see nothing about Kashif's name from anybody, and it's concerning to me at a point, man.
It's bad. It's bad. It's really bad. I don't get why they don't give him that credit like that. It seemed like they jumped from basically Stevie, then they kind of go to like basically Teddy. Yeah. They forget about Kashif. They go right from Stevie to Teddy Riley, and then it goes from there. Other than that, they like leave Kashif in the dust, and you be like, do y'all know from like 80 to 85 he had it on lock? Like,
here you go, Brad. That Kashif joint.
Come on.
This joint, oh my God.
So Love off that is my joint. What?
Oh my God. This joint right here. And then I got a live version, JR, of Help Yourself to My Love. On here.
I need that joint. Give me that.
Right.
Yo.
I found this on the Humble. So yeah, he's right about Kashif, bro. Like that's what I was. He said everything I was gonna say, bro. Like that was it. So that's what you ain't got. He got you. Thank you.
Yo, Vern, you know who JR just was? You remember the 5 Heartbeats when Eddie came late? He just slid into the show. We don't know what slid in and just. One of the joints I got is similar to what Porsche was saying about KRS and Melly Mel. The infamous Busy B versus Mo D battle back.
We marked that off my list.
Yeah. Yeah, I had that.
The thing that I want to do is connect that from Busy B to Mo D to LL, because we're going to see how the shifts went. So for people who don't know, in 81, the MC, people don't really, a lot of young folk don't get in. And again, I appreciate everybody who came into the clubhouse with me and Porsche the other night and JR. And I love the energy, people asking questions. I love it.
That was fun.
MCs were played the background in the beginning of hip hop to the DJ. The MC was just to get the crowd hyped. Yes, y'all. Yo, what's your zodiac sign? Say ho. Like, that's why we had DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. We had Eric B and Rakim. You know, the DJ's name was coming first. So Busy B in 81, Busy B is still the chief rocker. He's the party rocker. You know, where the party at. You know, like, let's say ho. And Modi came in. The first thing out Modi's mouth was, hold on, Busy B. I don't mean to be bold, but
put the bar diddy bar bullshit on hold.
Like, that's the first thing that he came out his mouth with. Then he came with, he paid for the rhyme. He asked for it twice. He said, Spoonie G, I'll buy it at any price. So this is 81 people talking about ghostwriting. So when people in 2020 talk about what's the big deal with ghostwriting, 81, it was a big deal. Then he says record after record, rhyme after rhyme, always want to know your zodiac sign. Like, yo, there was no coming back from that when Mo D put that down. And Busy B wasn't ready. He wasn't ready because all Busy B was doing was rocking the crowd. You know what I mean? And at that point, that's what an MC did. Your job was to rock the crowd. I would have loved to see Busy B's face because they got the audio on YouTube. If you haven't peeped it, go listen to it. I would have loved to just see Busy B's face. Like, yo, what the fuck is this? Like, yo, we don't rhyme like this. And to go back to what Sherrod was saying, there's cursing throughout the whole battle. Like, it's cursing from beginning to end. Like, not no one word here and there. No, the whole battle, Mo D.
You ain't ish and all of that, yeah.
Right. And when you look the Cool Mo D of Wild Wild West and How You Like Me Now, there is no cursing. You know what I mean? So again, it just goes back to Shaw's point of in the park jams and in these battles, that's how people was talking. What were you gonna say, Greg?
I just wanted to build on what you were saying. Couple things, not a couple things, but two things. The Busy B Kumo D battle. Now, that was a battle of where there was a change in the style of rhyme. You know what I mean? Now, when Portia said that Kane said the KRS Mo D battle was
the Melly Mel battle.
I mean, sorry, KRS and Melly Mel battle was a shift. It was more so a shift of crowns. You know what I mean? Because they're both two lyrical artists. This was party rhymes versus lyrical. So this is a complete shift in style. You know what I mean? Whereas that was like a shift in crown. Like he basically came and took the crown for the next generation coming, like Kane, G-Rap, KRS, all of those guys. He took the crown for those guys. You know what I mean? Whereas Kumo D and Busy B's battle was a battle of style change. That was a complete shift in style. Like Kill said, he was spitting lyrics. You know what I mean? Let's go again to Wild Style. If you listen to Wild Style and listen to him and Rodney C battling, Rodney C and Busy B, my dude. Like I met him. He's a cool guy, leather guy. Rodney C ate him up, yo, in Wild Style. But he somehow he won. You know, it was a party thing back then, so he won it. You know, by rocking the crowd. You know what I mean? But lyrically, Rodney C ate him up. You know what I mean? So yeah, that was so just to say, you know, to jump off of your thing there, Kill.
No. I mean, you're 100% right. It was
because I had that as well as one of my shifts was.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, it's a shift in the way people MC. And then now this is 81. Now we fast forward 6 years to 86, and Mo D is coming out with How You Like Me Now, and LL's hitting them with, you know, Jack the Ripper, which is personally top 5 this song to me. Because Jack the Ripper was hard when that shit dropped. Like, that was crazy. And then, you know, Mo D came back with Let's Go. Now, me and Tone from Into the Dome always go back and forth about this. He liked Let's Go. I thought the shit was whack. I thought it was trash when you come, because hold up, I had to screenshot the lyrics. Because this said, now let me tell you what LL stands for. Lower level, lackluster, lousy, lame, lethargic, latent, lazy, lemon, little, logic, lucky, leecher, liver, lip, laborious, loser of losers' lips. Nigga, what are you talking about, bro? What year are you stuck in? This dude's name, he just said lazy, lemon, little logic. Nigga, did you hear Jack the Ripper? Milky and I'm back.
That's funny, that.
This brand new track, I'm gonna slow it up and speed it up. Now I'm gonna eat it up. And you talking about lousy, lame, latent, lethargic, lazy, lemon, little logic, laborious, loser, lips, live in limbo, lyrical lapse, slow life with the lousy rap. So to me, it's just to show the reason I wanted to connect those two is because Mo D was the one who led the shift into the next phase through a battle, but then he also lost a battle because he hadn't stepped his rhymes up to be able to compete with LL, which then again made groups like Houdini, God Bless the Dead with Ecstasy, the Fat Boys with other groups like that. I want to say DMC said when he heard Rakim, he was like, damn, it's a rap for us. Like, because it was a lyrical, it was a change of the guard. And I think with Run DMC, the only reason why I think they didn't fall off, because Run DMC was always more street than Houdini or Curtis Blow or the Fat Boys or anything like that. And I mean, if
had a little more edge.
Had more edge, and that was because Jay, and everybody, Russell would say, yo, Jam Master Jay, he brought what people were wearing in Hollis and brought it to hip hop. You know what I mean? Whereas prior to that, Melly Mel and them used to be dressed up like space dudes. Like they was dressed up with shit like this on, like the spikes, and everything like that. So like they literally brought the street. So I think that's the only thing that kind of kept running them that were relevant was, and I just said when we were talking about Houdini the other day on the timeline, Houdini made more radio party friendly songs. Like 5 Minutes of Funk is a party song. Peter Piper is a party song, but it's a part jam party song, which is different. 5 Minutes of Funk is a radio party song. Peter Piper is a part jam party song. Two different types things. So I think that's why Running Them were able to stay relevant. But eventually, even Running Them had to kind of conform and try to keep up with the Joneses and get with Pete Rock and do the Down with the King and get the bald heads and get the Walker Wear. And, even they had to try to, conform. And even with that one, it was kind of like their last hurrah. You know what I mean? So just to say that, it was crazy to see Mo D bringing a new level of MCing, but then, because I used to be like, yo, Busy B got Mo D, but then Mo D got Mo D'd, by LL and everything like that. So that was definitely a shift in hip hop because when you
LL got Mo D'd by Cannabis.
Yo, that's one of the most notorious battles. How many people up here think LL won that battle? The Cannabis battle.
I think he was louder.
That's exactly.
I think he was louder because of his platform. I think he was louder, and so was able to kind of just he had the bully pulpit, so he could take advantage of that.
Yeah, because I never really I
always said his rhyme back to him. He basically said Cannabis is rhyme back to him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I always thought Cannabis won, but I thought because Cannabis never blew, it kind of was like L won. Like I felt like it was a win by default. Like if Cannabis' first album was what we thought it was gonna be. Like if Cannabis would have gave us his Illmatic, I don't think people would be saying LL won. I think because it was like the second round knockout, and then the album just kind of flamed out. Then it kind of like, oh well, I guess L won then, type thing. But,
hey, Kill, that's the start of an era too.
What's that?
The cat that can battle rap but can't put an album together and forge a career. Rap is littered with those dudes.
That's true too. And if it's not the battle rappers, it was the freestyle rappers. It was the naturals. It was the Mad Skills. It was the guys who could come off the top all day and talk about a million things and the lyrical miracles and everything like that. But then when it was time to put an album out, like the album never really, no diss to Mad Skills. To me, he's more known for those end of the year wrap up rhymes than his career as an actual MC and his body. You know what I mean? I call them and1 rappers because you have these on the court. They can cross you over and they're gonna be nasty on the playground, but you throw them in a college game and you want them to play with the system, their brain doesn't work like that. You know what I mean?
Like Kwame Brown.
Right, and it's the same thing when you take that rapper now you have to system and you have to say, okay, come up with a hook and come up with 16 bars and let's do a song structure like. And again, this is no diss to any of these people. I'm not dissing the and1 people. I'm not dissing the battle rappers. It's just I just think your mindset is different to then have to be able to play a certain way or do something that you're not used to doing. And a lot of the people aren't willing to really put in that work to kind of figure out how to do that. Porsche, what's another shift that you got?
I think you guys all knew this one was coming. The East Coast West Coast war that went on for.
Something about Drake. Okay.
No. The East Coast West Coast war. I mean, for us who lived it, it was weird. It was really weird, and I say weird because, I mean, I lived. You guys know, like I grew up in Canada, the prairies, and then moved to Vancouver. I never had a regional bias naturally. We got whatever we got, and we loved everything that we were able to get a hold of when it came to hip hop. It didn't matter if it was from the East, from the West, from the South, wherever it was, we loved it. And then all of a sudden they pit, and I say they because I think that the media had probably 90% to do with this. They pit Pac and Biggie against each other, and then all of a sudden now you got to pick a side. Now, if you're listening to West Coast, then you're no longer like loyal or a fan of the East Coast, and if you're listening to East Coast, then you don't like the West Coast. And I mean, it was very, very difficult with the way that it was to pull yourself out of that, because when you were immersed in hip hop, that's what was going on. Everything was about that. It was even like the covers of Vibe and the cover of Source, I think at one point had them pitted against each other too on a headline, you know? And then that kind of ties into Pac and Big passing away. That was another shift that kind of went hand in hand with that. And for me, that was, I feel like, I know that we've lost a lot of legends. We've lost a lot of people in hip hop, and each one of them hurts because obviously we no longer have those people, right? But with Pac and Big, it was just, I remember feeling like I was defeated. Like I didn't know. There was just such a void, and it was almost like you were lost. Like, now what? These were the two biggest guys. Now what? What happens to hip hop? Like, I remember thinking to myself, like, now what happens to hip hop? Where is it going to go from here? Because it was just so much around that. So for me, that was probably the biggest and the most standout shift that had ever happened. Even to this day, I don't think there's a shift in hip hop that can match that in terms of how much hip hop fans were wrapped up in it, how much MCs were wrapped up in it, how much the coastal feuds were going on. Like, it was just, I feel like it just ravaged the entire culture. So for me, that was the biggest one.
Okay. Well, Sha, what you think about the East Coast, West Coast war?
Tell
me this, because this is what I always wanted to know. Because for me, I refused to listen to Pac because I was riding with Big. So I literally, one of the reasons why I hadn't heard a Pac album until recently, of course, challenged me to listen to All Eyes on Me, was because it was like, there's a loyalty here. I'm rolling with Big, you know, fuck the West Coast. There you go. But I know a lot of my people's in Philly who love Pac and was like, yo, I don't give a fuck. I'm listening to both of them. Like, I'm not getting caught in the middle of that. But Sha, how are you in that mix, being from Brooklyn?
I took it personal, right? It's odd because I don't know these people, but it's weird because, you know, I'm from Brooklyn, always lived on the East Coast my whole life, so I never felt like I was in the middle. Like, if I was living someplace else, I might have felt some of the shift. I was always an East Coast rap guy. I took it personal. I didn't like Chronic and those albums. Like, I liked them, but I couldn't get into them because I just felt like it was a slight. And I know that was immature of me, but that's what I felt at the time. I was a kid, and both of the passings just felt real personal. It's kind of like when you watch, well, for some people who watch like the Best Man Holiday, right? How like you kind of get into the characters, you feel them, and then when she passed, you feel like, wow, like somebody that you knew passed. You didn't know the person at all, but you just feel a connection with the characters. Mm-hmm. And people have been dying all along, but this just felt like real. Like, all like the battle rap and the beef and the talk was one thing, but now this seemed to have resulted in things that we saw in our neighborhood, but now it's like these people are really dying. So it felt like I remember where I was when I heard about both of the passings, about both of the shootings or whatever, and it was just like, it felt like a cousin died. Even when Pac passed, even though I wasn't riding, I just felt like, wow, like, yo, he really, really died. Like, this is crazy. I remember my girl at the time, she was so hurt, and it was just like, at first I was like, it's a rap guy, what are you talking about? But then I started realizing, like, wait a minute, like, it's us. And it really felt like to Portia's point, like, what's going to happen with rap? Like, what's next? Because they were it, right? So it's kind of like, where do we go from here, right? And then I even think about it now in terms of the things that woulda, coulda, shoulda happened if they were still around. Like, would JB what he is if Big was still around, right? I know you and I, we talk about this all the time. Like, yo, like the people chose. Big was the man. Jay was on the come up, but Big was the man. And so what would have happened with the whole Bad Boy flow? What have happened? You know, like, just there's so many things. There's so many waves that have just been altered as a result of those two guys passing. That it definitely has had a huge impact on my life.
I think the one thing, and I'm gonna say my whole part to the end. The one thing that I think that was so different about this, to both you and Portia's point, the conspiracy theories behind these deaths. You know what I mean? Like that was the other thing too. It was like, yo, did Puffy and them get Pac killed? Then it shifted to no, Suge got Pac killed because Pac wanted to leave the label, and then it was, did Pac get Big killed? Then it shifted to Puff wanted Big killed because Trey was on the show and Trey was talking about how he was in the studio with Big and he was like, yo, I'm leaving Bad Boy. Like, I'm out. Yo, we're doing you know, X, Y, and Z. So it's also, you know, I've seen it. I mean, we have TV shows about this whole Pac and Big death and who did what. So it's not just the both of them died. It's just like, yo, these conspiracy theories are like either which way, and we'll never probably know who did what. You know, was it Suge? Was it Puff? Was it Puff? Was it Suge? We'll never know who killed them, but like you said, they're both legends. Grab, how did this affect you? You know, with the whole heavy, I mean, not the whole heavy, the whole Big passing, Pac passing, East Coast, West Coast beef.
I mean, you know, we tried to really keep peace. You know what I mean? I mean, we stayed in a neutral space with it. It was a loss of two artists is how we looked at it. You know what I mean? It really wasn't an East or West thing, but really, they really spoke to it.
Tell me this too, Grant, because you're in the game right now. So I know a lot of time during this time, East Coast groups weren't traveling to the West Coast. Like it was like, yo, we're not even going out there. So you know, people popping, I&I's recording. How were your movements in those days?
We never made it to LA. You know what I mean? We never got to do a show in LA. We never got, you know, called for a show in LA. We went out there. I went out there with Pete in like 99 probably, like after Big and Pac had already passed and stuff. Things kind of settled down. We went out there. Maybe like 98 might have been. He went out there to film his video for Take Your Time. And we went out there. But yeah, it wasn't, we weren't really around. We were just still, we didn't really get nowhere with our stuff, like to really travel or do nothing. Like the thing is, people have to realize, like, we made an album, but we never went through the motions of promoting it and things of that nature. We had shows that were local, not local, but on the Eastern Seaboard. We never went to Elektra in LA to meet with them or none of that. We never did that. We never did any of that stuff. You know what I mean? But what we did do was we did like mostly shows on the Eastern Seaboard. You know what I mean? And, you know, so we never really had to deal with that whole East Coast, West Coast thing.
All right, no doubt. Eddie, how was?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, what you saying, Brad? Finish what you were saying.
No, you good? Because I was just wondering if we were gonna keep speaking to our personal thoughts of what shifted up.
I want to get to that real quick, but just real quick, Ed, just real quick. How did the East Coast, like, were you Pac Big? What did you pick sides, or you was both with both?
Yeah, kind of. I kind of picked Biggie when the whole thing came, because obviously I grew up in Brooklyn and stuff. But you know, as an observation, I mean, I was a teenager then. I think you know, we were just getting hype off of it, and I think the hip hop media perpetuated a lot of it, if not all of it. You know, they basically became a tabloid. And I remember, you know, when Pac, the first time Pac got shot, and, you know,
like at Quad?
Then, yeah, at the studio, and, you know, and Biggie and them were on a different floor and all that. And they came down, and, you know, by the time they came down, he was shot, whatever. And it was like, you know, you should have known, whatever. And I think the hip hop media kind of ran with it since then. You know, they realized, all right, we selling magazines, you know,
right.
we selling, and, you know, we getting people's attention. And I think that perpetuated so much of it. Obviously the Source Awards, you know, created a big thing, but in reality now, you know, we know that, you know, Pac's death had nothing to do with Biggie, you know?
Prayerfully so. But you were big. Vern, what about you? Were you in the middle, or you didn't even care?
I was in the middle. I didn't care. I'll tell you this, and it might be unpopular, but I was kind of angry with Pac because I had a chance to hang out with him a couple of times. I've always talked about my boys Bread and Water produced some stuff on the album. Pac's a good, cool dude, man, but I think he got caught up in kind of like the crew he was around and just like elbowing up. And I was like, man, I felt that something bad was going to happen with the way things were going. And like his was not a good energy. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I hated the whole East. I didn't like nobody after that because it's like this is headed to where it ended up at, and so I didn't like it.
JR, what about you? Big or Pac or both?
Oh, Big for sure. Like I was like my dad was Pac, but we from Brooklyn, so we of course we ride with Big. But it was like when Pac got shot, it was like, dang, again. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like when he got shot, it was like, oh, he got shot again. Oh, Pac gonna be fine. But when he passed, it was like, even if you was mad and all that, you was like, damn, like this really happened. You know what I'm saying? Like he gone. You know what I mean? And then 6 months later, there's Big. It's like, dang. But like y'all said, the media had a lot to do with that and all that. But it's
even I forgot about the controversy with that. You got the conspiracy theories that Pac did. You still got people now in 2020 telling you Pac Mexico. It wasn't just when Big Pun died, he died. When Big L died, he died. Like nobody's like, yo, I just seen Big L down south at the fucking Circle K store. Like Pac pops up everywhere. The only thing, and then Grab, we're gonna get to you. The only thing that I kind of disagree with, I want to give the media maybe even a 50-50 rev with this. And the only reason why I say that is because we had to give them the media something to write about. You know what I mean? Pac hit him up.
Yeah, man, that's what I'm saying.
I fucked your wife. Like,
yeah, bro.
I gotta write about that. Like, so it's not like the media made up this shit. And it kind of was like, no, this nigga came out with a song. I fucked your wife, fuck you, fuck Bad Boy, fuck everybody. And the sad part about it is the media did do its job. My job is to report what you say. Did they embellish it a lot? Yes. I'm not taking the media off any scale whatsoever. But again, I always tell folks, you got to give the media something to even run with. And Pac did that. You saw kind of Biggie and them was kind of like laid back. They never struck back, which pissed me off. Because I'm like, yo, where's the comeback? Like, just ain't and
one thing.
You sending little subliminals here and there, like, you know, what Big say? What was the line in Concussions Ain't Nothing? Oh, we ain't mad at you. We ain't mad at you. Know what I mean? They would send little subliminals, but I was actually mad that Big never got back. So I agree with you. The media played a part. I just don't think it's 90% of the part because the rappers, Pac played a huge part in this. You know what I mean? Ed, real quick, and then I want to get the Grab. What were you gonna say?
Oh no, you said it. You said it about Biggie just not really responding, just taking the subliminals, and that really annoyed me because I mean at the time, hearing hit him up,
and it's like
I was like, yo,
how Capone and Noriega and Mobb Deep repping New York better than what you repping it?
Right, right.
Dude, Jay ain't say shit. Jay ain't say nothing. You know what I mean? And Pac took shots at him. But Grab, what you got up for your next shift, good brother? Grab then took a break.
My fault. I was talking to my daughter.
Oh, my bad. No, it's all good.
Yeah, she's going to New Orleans tomorrow, so she just told me. Yeah, they said be safe travels.
Thank you.
Yeah, but you had my first one, the Kumo D Busy Bee battle. My second one was the introduction of the sampling pioneers. Marley Marl, Howie T, Herbie Lovebug, Paul C, Said G. I may have forgotten. I don't know if I've forgotten anybody, but those sampling pioneers. Because prior to that, it was Orange Crush, Davey D, Larry Smith, and for what I've known, you know what I mean. And then when those people came and introduced, and I don't know, Mark the 45 King might have been rolling back then too. But those people came and introduced sampling to the game, and they were the pioneers, you know what I mean. And They brought a whole different thing to the game, a whole different shift, in my opinion. A whole different musical shift in terms of textures and sound and loss of even richness of sound, because live instruments give you a richer sound. The preference of that, the grittier sound, the preference of the popcorn on the record, that type of vibe, but Paul C now was a person who was a master engineer, also Marley Marl. Case in point, I had brought my 2-inch reel of Wonderlust. I don't know, I may have told this story of Wonderlust to Marley Marl's house. And I put it up on the 2-inch and I pulled it up, all the joints up, and I had the drums up and everything. And he came, he was like, yo, that sound dope. He's like, yo, hold up. He did some boop bop, touched the drums for like 30 seconds at the most. And them joints sounded so crisp after that, yo. Like somebody sampled the Wonderlust drums. You know what I mean? That's how crisp they were. You know what I mean? But him and Paul C were like master engineers. So, they were able to bring you into that medium between the grit and the crisp. You know what I mean? They were able to bring you into that special medium. You know what I mean? That special place that of sound where you got that gritty, but it was still crispy and, thumping, but still crispy. You know what I mean? So they were able to bring you into that special place. So I say the introduction of the sampling pioneers,
Do me a favor,
which leads to my next one.
But tell me this real quick, Rap. Explain what that sounded like prior to it. So when we're talking about Orange Crush, Larry Smith, what is the sound of that?
Live music, live interpolations of songs. For example, Rapper's Delight, the backing sound to Rapper's Delight. How it was a live band that basically played Good Times Over. Freedom, that was a live band that played Get Up and Dance by a group called Freedom. Yeah. But they named the song Freedom, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, probably to avoid publishing or something like that. But then you had Larry Smith coming in. He wasn't interpolating song, he was making original tracks, but he was still using like keys and drum machines without like sampling sounds. There were actual keys and sounds that he was making. And people today sample Larry Smith in his original tools, like sampling Friends and, the drums from One Love and, different things like that. So, yeah. Right. But that's what I mean by that sound. And Orange Crush was a backing band who did a lot of work with Curtis Blow, and I think a lot of them contributed to that some of that Fat Boys production as well, because that was produced by Curtis Blow. And I think he had some of the players from Orange Crush actually playing those sounds.
Right. Vern, what were you about to say?
Talking about Larry Smith, Fugitive is one of my favorite hip hop songs of all time. And that mug is so hard. The knock on it and the live guitars, you made me think about that when you said Larry Smith. Yeah.
And just real quick, because it's always homework for people watching, Paul C. If I had to say, listen to something from Paul C engineered Ultramagnetics, Critical Beatdown album that Ced Gee produced.
Drummer song.
Right. So if people want to know about Ced Gee and Paul C, Ced Gee produced Ultramagnetic, Critical Beatdown. Paul C engineered it. Paul C, Super Love C and Casanova Rudd engineered that. Paul C is Large Professor's mentor, which is why Large Professor's production company is called Paul C. Paul C is also the man who sampled these drums for the first time for Steezo. God bless the dead who passed away this year. It's your turn. It's my turn. He was the first one to use the Skull Snap drums. Howie T, anything Chubb Rock, Special Ed, The Real Roxanne, Digging to That, Marley Marl, anything Juice Crew, Big Daddy Kane's first album, Biz's first album, all that, Herbie Love Bug, same thing, Kid and Play's first album, Salt-N-Pepa's first album, Dana Dane's first album, Sweet T's first album. So everything that Grap is saying for y'all for doing homework, those are the joints that you should dig into if you want to hear a little bit more about those producers. Eddie, what's another one of your shifts, brother?
All right. I'm sorry. Pull it up. I had, and to be honest, I'm not sure if he was the first, but I have, 50 Cent and other New York artists starting to sound like other regions.
I got that on here. Yeah.
and I pinpoint 50 Cent because he started working with Dr. Dre, and some of his flows and cadences sounded a little southern and stuff, like his little drawl and stuff like that. And if there was someone before 50 Cent that started doing that, you correct me, but I feel like once 50 started doing that, then it opened up the floodgates, and then he had G Unit, so he had artists on G Unit from other regions. He had Game, he had Young Buck from the South, and always do so. I think that's when New York kind of started losing its signature sound, or that was kind of the beginnings of it. You could drop a New York hip hop album that didn't necessarily completely sound New York.
Right. It's funny you say that, because I used to have to tell my teenagers that Fat Joe was from the South Bronx and not from Miami. Like, they swore he was from Miami. I never knew Mano was from Brooklyn when I first heard Mano's first joint. There was, so that shift is 100% correct, bro. Like, it's like New York lost its identity 100%. And I don't know if it's gotten it back yet. I don't know if the city's gotten it back. Now, the state with Griselda, upstate New York, but I don't know if New York City has really yet to get its identity back.
And then the major significance of that is that at one point, 50 Cent was probably the biggest artist, the biggest hip hop artist on the planet at one point when In the Club came out, arguably, so he was on the top tier in New York and represented New York with a sound that didn't necessarily sound New York.
Right.
So that's kind of crazy.
Good point. Vern, what's the shift for you, good brother?
Eddie took the one I was gonna say, but I would say for good, and then it turned out bad to me. Source Awards, Kid and Play, and Salt and Pepper, best new hip hop album group, Outkast, and that opened a door. That was the first time that Atlanta, the South. Well, I'll just say Atlanta, because that you had Scarface and those boys already, but Atlanta had a signature sound, and Rico has spoken on this before. Like with PA, that was more of us trying to kind of sound New York-ish, but they was like, man, screw that. We're gonna do solely us, and we created our sound, and then Goody Mob and those boys came after that. That's the good part. The bad is it opened the floodgates in a negative sense to me, and that's maybe just the old head kill. I'll just put it to you like this: it went from that to music that I don't necessarily care about, because it's more derivative, it's not innovative in a lot of cases, and it's about 15 people. If you put them on at the same time and took the labels off, I couldn't tell you who was who. You know what I mean? So, but I'll start on a good, keep it on a good. Outkast winning at the Source Awards and opening up the door to Atlanta sound.
Yeah, I think 3000 the South got something to say. I think that's a quote, a hip hop quotable for years.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? For that. Shah, what's another one for you?
Another one for me is the 90s mixtape era. With all of the different artists getting features, this gave artists an opportunity to tour the world. It was really big on college campuses. It gave people a chance to get a following. Going back to like the self-publishing, like this wasn't exactly that, but it gave people an opportunity to showcase their skills when they weren't signed, didn't have a big budget or whatever. They were able to get out there, and it was. I'm still a fan of a lot of that stuff. Like the old Clue tapes, Doo-Wop, Ron G's, all of those. That whole era was big, and that was prior to like the actual camps creating their own, mixtapes. Here's a mixtape that's just a certain camp or whatever. This was a free fall. You had to get in cool with the DJ, you know what I'm saying, to get on there. And each time that each successive tapes, like you would see, you know, if somebody was moving up the ranks, if they were, you know, the second or third to, you know, pop their freestyle on there, whatever. It was a dope time, man, a dope time. And I think that shift, we were able to get fresh music from artists that we loved without having to go through, as Grab was saying, you know, the funnel that the record labels had in terms of you can only hear this artist, you know, once a year, and they're gonna be, you know, maybe held up, maybe not, or whatever. And it was also less filtered, right? I mean, they could just spit what they wanted to without having the same filter of the record labels or whatever. So I thought that was a pretty good shift for hip hop for us.
Yeah, and so many dope tapes. Doo-Wop, SNS, Craig G, Clue, the Bounce Squad with Doo-Wop, Snagglepuss, Lord
Oh
Supreme.
yeah, man, yeah, fire.
Dude,
Do y'all remember Cornerstone mixtapes?
I don't remember Cornerstone. Who was that?
Yeah, it was like a little company that used to put out. They used to have DJs that would do mixes of the latest songs and stuff. They were pretty cool. Yeah,
Like
they
Blade?
used to do neo soul, hip hop, all, you know. People, you know, like Spinner did one time. DJ Language did one. A couple people have done them. You know, what I mean, it's a while. They were doing them like in the 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah, but yeah, that mixtape goes. So for people, Clue, SNS, Ron G, all that good stuff, mixtapes were huge back in the day. JR, what's another joint you got, brother?
2003 kind of changed for R&B for real. Like that was the point when everything started to change because, again, like Vern said, Atlanta started really coming in, and when they came in, and they started, R&B really got affected by it. So everybody wanted that sound. Everybody wanted that. And then
now, what's the sound? What's the sound? I'm old, good brother. I don't even remember what 2003. What was the sound? Was that throw it up and catch it dance sound?
Right. That's like Usher's Confessions, Sierra's Goodies.
Okay. That, what was my man?
Jazzy Faye, yeah.
Who was that producer? That producer used to do Sierra.
Jazzy
Faye. Jazzy Faye sound? Okay.
Yes. That, and once that happened, it was like everybody wanted that sound, and we're here now with that. So you know what I'm saying, you got London on the track sounding like whoever this person is, and this person sound like they all sound the same. It's not innovative anymore. You know what I'm saying? So that, and I felt the shift. I said when Yeah came out, I said, uh-oh. I was like, uh-oh. And once that happened, everybody started to get competitive with it. You know what I mean? And then the younger artist was like, I want that sound. And then they forgot people wasn't working with Raphael Sadiq like that anymore. And people wasn't working with, you know, these dope producers. You know what I'm saying? Everybody wanted Jazzy Faye. Everybody wanted Little John. Everybody wanted that. And where we at now because of it.
But you know what I think a piece of that is, brother? I think that was people playing it safe. Because what happens is hip hop, in '84, when I'm getting the 2 turntables and a mixer and I'm 10 years old, I'm not calculating in my brain how much money I can make from this. You know, my sole goal is just to spin parties and have the crowd. That was like your goal, like to be like, kill DJ. Like that was the goal. And I think by 2000, hip hop became a way to get out the hood. So you had to play it safe. It's kind of like what Yao was saying when he broke down where freestyles on the radio went to really being off the top to being written. Right. And it made sense because he said, hey, post 2000, people were getting record deals off their freestyles. So you couldn't risk the opportunity of coming off the top and fucking up the bag and not getting a deal. So you had to have your written on tap so that it was on point because this was your audition. You know what I mean? I'm like, makes perfect sense. With 2002, I just think it became a place of it's like, if we get the Little John, we have a hit. If we have a hit, we get the deal. So it now becomes 1 + 1 = 2. So people aren't really trying to take chances anymore because it's like the goal is to get the bag. I don't think that was the goal initially back in our days. Because again, Shy, 92, PMD says what? Still, I've never seen a rapper living comfortably. Okay. Mm-hmm. One of the rap groups on the planet, and the man just told you, I haven't seen a rapper living comfortably. You fast forward 5 years and we got MTV Cribs. You see what I'm saying? So that's the shift of it being like, hey, we're making this music for us. a bag to a 90s rapper was a fucking gold plaque and a fucking, you know, maybe a BMW, like at best. Like Busta came out with Sob Story. That nigga said, I got a Pathfinder. Like, if you were rapping a Pathfinder right now, you lost. Like, nigga, you lost. Like, stop rapping. You know?
I dropped the Corvette, I dropped the Samurai Suzuki.
Yeah, you know, I like Eric Sermon, I drive a Samurai Suzuki. And it was like, Shy again at Morgan. My man Polo had the Geo Tracker. That was the shit. On Diamond's A Day in the Life. Yo, pull up in a Suzu Tracker. Like, so I just think with hip hop, it became a place of hip hop is now a way out the hood. So I have to be very specific, and I can't gamble to try to do a new sound because that gamble may not pay off for me. And I need a shot deal that's going to pay off for me. Porsche, what's your last joint, miss?
I actually had the Source Awards that Vern just said, so I don't have any other ones.
All right, Grab, where was your connection with the 80s producers to where you are with this one?
Well, the next thing I was going to say, the introduction of Mr. Magic, the Juice Crew, and Rakim. You know, that whole era just coming in, man. And Marley, you know, like that, he had an era, man, where he was just producing heat, you know what I mean? I was listening to In Control Volume 1 today and was like, wow, he had plenty of joints on there, you know what I mean? And he was just coming with joints and then helping produce. Well, yeah, and then the whole, you know, it's a still murky thing. I don't know how murky it is now with him in the production of the Big Daddy Kane album, the Bismarck album, you know. But you know, we say that he did those help.
Now, Grab, I know you said wifey got you this. Have you dug into it yet?
Yeah, not yet. I just started.
When
I'm
you
like
dig
10.
When you dig into this, call me because we're gonna talk about this because this is gonna change your whole perspective on Marley, the Juice Crew, everything, man. If cats haven't read this, get this book, Going On, The Cold Chillin' Records, The Story of the Juice Crew. Very dope.
Yeah. So in terms of influence, them coming in and you know, them coming in, man, and just making the splash that they made. You know, Magic bringing rap to the radio in the fashion and form he did, and the level, on the level he did, you know, because there was HBI and things of that nature, and cats had 1 hour shows here and there, and you know, but Magic was the one who really was like, boom, we're gonna bring this to WBLS, a major market.
Now tell me this, because like I said, it's why I love doing this show, because I get to learn. I'm not in New York, so I don't know the scheme of New York. So Magic was the first person to get hip hop on BLS.
Yeah, because I don't think Frankie Crocker was really with it at the time.
Not at all.
You know what I mean? So yeah, Magic was the one. I think he was on HBI first, and then he moved to BLS. He got his way onto BLS.
Okay.
And him and Fly Tie, you know what I mean, were like instrumental in putting hip hop on the radio.
All right, no doubt. Again, for people watching, this is the album to get. Marley Marl in Control, to me, one of the dopest album covers. Mm-hmm. You got Craig G, MC Sham, Big Daddy Kane, Traj, Master Ace, G-Rap, and Biz. Very dope album. Again, salute to Grab's cousin Heavy D on We Write the Songs with Bismarck, Crazy Joint. Eddie, what's your last shift that you got, good brother?
Well, we were doing the last ones.
Oh yeah, give you what's your last one, Grab? You could get
I'm
that
sorry,
too.
yeah. Because you already had one of them, Puffy starting Bad Boy. For me, my last one is a personal one. Hev getting signed to Uptown Records. Hev getting on, period. When Hev got on, like after he got on, mad people end up getting record deals coming out of Mount Vernon. You know what I mean? He Hev got his, then Albie Shaw, Pete and CL. There was a group called FS Effect. There was a group years later on, they were called Dime. They were two twins. They were signed to Arista Records, Aisha and Idrissa. There's a couple people that got record deals out of I, you know what I mean? There's a couple people, man, that either if they didn't get record deals, they ended up on wax. You know what I mean? Coming out of Mount Vernon. But Hev was the catalyst for all of that. You know what I mean? He made it.
we always talk about what's in the water in Virginia with Pharrell and Timbaland and Missy, and what's in the water here, and what's in the water in Mount Vernon, because your cousin have, like, after we did the show, me and Shy were just talking earlier this week, we talked for about an hour just talking about Heavy D, like literally just about how important Hev is to the game. You got Pete, who many people say is the dopest producer ever. You got Pete and CL, one of the dopest duos ever. Like, what is Al B. Short? People don't talk about In Effect Mode enough. To me, that is a 5 mic classic album.
He wrote Forever My Lady, man. He wrote Forever My Lady. Like,
right, so, but what is it about Mount Vernon? How do y'all have all that talent? And what do you say is 4 square miles? That's it?
Yeah, 4 square miles. I was told by an elder, it was like the way the town is positioned is almost on a high ground. I don't know. He said that it has something to do with that and the energy that's in that area. Like the fact that it's on a higher plane than other places around it. I guess even within Westchester, you know what I mean? But I don't know, man. It just was a blessing that everything, you know, came together like that. You know what I mean? But Hev showed the way, though. He was the one who was like, showed that cats could really make it. You know what I mean? Because Al was singing like background vocals on Don't You Know, the first album. So that gave him the motivation to say, yo, I'm gonna sing and make some music and make an album. And then he was an excellent songwriter. So he ends up writing for Jodeci. He ends up writing for Tevin Campbell. You know what I mean? And not just like junks, like joints. Like he wrote joints for these people. You know what I mean? But probably other people I don't know. He ends up being on a song with the legendary Quincy Jones, you know, Secret Garden. And I was always like, you know, Al is all right and singing, you know what I mean? But for when he got on that record, I was worried. I was like, yo, is he gonna be able to come off on it? Like, and he represented for the Vernon, like he represented, and that's a dude who is very proud to be from Mount Vernon, New York. Albert Brown, yo. Al B. Short. That's a dude who's very proud to be from Mount Vernon. He mentions Mount Vernon to this day. I heard him on Questlove Supreme. So, like, that dude, like, I love him for that. You know what I mean? Like, that's my big brother right there. You know what I mean? Like, we went to high school together and stuff like that. And he was scooping substitutes up in there. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, the deep voice, the unibrow, you know, young, pretty face, you know what I mean? He was killing them, you know what I mean? So, yeah, but yeah, Hev getting on, man. That was a shift for us personally, for like that town, like that opened up that town, yo, like something incredible, you know what I mean? I'm blessed to even have been a part of that. Humbly, I am, for real. You know what I mean?
Shout out to my man Ben Gordon, one of my favorite players from Mount Vernon, went to UConn, helped UConn beat in the Final Four to win that chip. So always been a Ben Gordon fan out of Mount Vernon.
Yes, sir.
What's your last joint, good brother?
My last joint is it's kind of a 2-for-1. They go together. It's technology and the internet. You know, the rise and prominence of both. And once the internet and music starting to get leaked online, and then the technology part was, once you could get a MP3 player, now it's like, okay, I can download the album, from Napster. Remember Napster was going crazy for a while before they shut it down.
LimeWire
and all that. Yep. And then you get your MP3 players and just load them up, and then then you had like the message boards, like right here on the corner of that OK Player. I think most of us was probably on OK Player at some point in time.
On there almost every damn day back in 99, 2000. So.
Exactly. And you go on there and someone had a link, someone always had a link to something new, so man, how that changed things is, the album leaks change people's whole album. Like look at Nas, that I Am Nostradamus album we talk about a lot, and if all that drops the way it's supposed to, you know, we may be looking at Nas differently. He might have had a 4-album run right there, 3 or 4 album run right there, instead of, you know, dropping off and flopping that Nostradamus being named one of the worst hip hop albums ever, you know. Then, you know, the leaks leading to just artists getting shelved, period, you know. So messed up a lot, you know.
It's funny, as much as I love the technology, man, knowing what I know, I almost wish we didn't have it, man. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I know that in a sense means I wouldn't have met y'all, so of course I don't want that to happen, but just as far as, you know, to being able to download the album and not pay for it. I remember first seeing LimeWire and all that shit, like, yo, I could just download the whole album and not pay for it. Like, yo, like, felt like amazing, but it's just like, but I miss going to the store buying albums. And I wish people still had to go to the store to buy albums. So, I mean, like you said, it's the gift and the curse. Vern, what you got for your last one, good brother?
Since my little brother is on here, I'm Trey Young. I'm about to throw this assist to JR. JR, tell him when singers morphed into rapper singers.
We already know where this is going. God.
Oh no! Oh, definitely.
Up your way, Porsche.
You should throw it to Porsche.
Please don't. I don't want to end the episode.
She's throwing it in the trash, bro. That's going to be a dumpster.
No, I ain't even talking about the Toronto.
You to the dumpster.
I ain't necessarily talking about the Toronto Kid, but
I feel you. But this is
you remember R&B kind of was polished. And
I know where you're going. I know exactly where you're going.
And you just mentioned Puff and Jodeci, you know, made singers more edgy and rough like the rappers. And it was a great concept for them. But it opened the floodgates to some stuff that we could do without. So, on that,
I mean, and then when Mary came in, that's when everything kind of changed. Everything kind of changed because then it was like everybody wanted that. Everybody wanted that girl. Everybody wanted this for a group. Everybody wanted all that, and it was just like.
But you know, the hard part I feel like even with that is that they could still sing. And again, I ain't saying Mary is the best singer in the world, but she could sing. Like I feel like now with these rappers, singer rappers, they can't even sing. You know, like Jagged Edge, one of them twins could sing. 2 of them niggas, usually if it's 4 niggas in a group, 2 can sing. The other 2 are just there because they cousins or they your bands.
Songwriting.
Yeah. I mean, but now with these whisper, what did Taj from not Taj, what did old girl from SWV call them? Whisper singers, you know, they're all whispering. Like
I call them emoji singers, man.
Yeah, emojis. Like, you know, we don't have that singing anymore, and now you can't really tell it. You know, you can't tell any more of it. And again, it's like we were talking about, even when people like, oh, Puff brought that in, I'm like, Puff had a good idea because Ron G was doing that shit before.
Yes,
Ron
he was.
The Stephanie Mills acapella over substitution. So again, Puff was just a good idea haver. Now we need good idea havers, but he's not the genius. Like, you know what I mean? He's not the man behind it. So yeah, Vern, that's you can't even tell the 2 apart anymore now. Like,
and I couldn't even argue that Ron G one because Marley and Pete were doing that on the radio in 89, 88.
Oh,
yeah, they was mixing R&B beats, R&B songs with hip hop beats on BLS on In Control.
Yeah.
In Control. I specifically remember when they did 2300 Jackson Street. I remember that.
Yeah, he was somewhere recording it.
That's crazy. The first time I heard it was, and Shy, you know, YZ pulled up on campus in the Maxima bumping that Synthetic Substitution with something in the way you made me feel. Yo, my brain exploded like, yo, what the fuck? And it's like, man, this Ron G, niggas been doing this for years, bro. That shit, Puff ain't, you know, that Mary shit wasn't singing over Ty Miller. Niggas was doing that shit before, and it was like, oh, see, in Philly, I ain't know.
Billy and Pete was doing that on the radio on BLS.
Wow.
That's crazy. I didn't know that. What you say, Ed?
I was gonna say what that reminds me of was like how the R&B songs, like the beats and the drums were so hard. Like I remember what Q-Tip said, he was inspired by what was that joint, Don't Walk Away. That inspired him to make a war tour.
He used he used the bass line.
Yep.
That's crazy.
That was the thing though. Back in the days, man, you go to the Park Jam, they would play In Vogue, Hold On. When I was listen, Cheeks and Lost Boys would come on, he would rock for hours to just the In Vogue Hold On beat and just ride the beat. But that was the thing. Like you play a banging R&B joint and cats would just, it wasn't no singing stuff. They would just rhyme rough over the joint, and that was nice, man.
Yeah.
But they wasn't singing at the Park Jams.
It
wasn't, man.
What's your last joint, Sha?
My last one is a interesting one. This is a personal one for me. I felt that there was a shift, a potential shift when EPMD broke up, man. That hurt me.
Yeah.
I felt that the Hit Squad had something real serious going at the time, and because I'm a huge Daz fan, I'm a huge Redman fan. I love K Solo, and I was like, yo, this is like a super conglomerate right here. But when they split and folks had to choose sides, Keith Murray came in and he was roughing cats up. It was an interesting time. I felt that to me altered what I thought was potentially a super group in hip hop, and that was just because of that certain sound that they had. And then there was an they were an older school group that was bringing in these new guys. It was like ushering this new wave. I felt like there was a lot of potential there, and when they split, it hurt me.
Yeah, I think that breakup affected me the most out of any hip hop breakup. Mm-hmm. And then again, it was the controversy behind it of E having P robbed. You know what I mean? So it wasn't just a breakup. Like, when Tribe broke up, I don't think Phife was like, yo, this nigga Tip had me robbed on fucking Linden Boulevard, or when like it was like, no, this nigga had me robbed. It was just like, not only did y'all break up at the height of everything. I remember the picture of them in the Source, it was all of them like with their backs up against, like they were like by a river or something. You know what I mean? And it was just like, yo, this group is really breaking up. And then, like you said, it felt like when a parent gets divorced, and it's like, who you want to come live with? And it's like Das went with PMD and Red went with E. And like, yeah, I agree with you with that, because it just felt like, like to me, that was probably the dopest crew at the time. Like the Hit Squad was it.
Tough, man.
Yeah, I mean, especially once Redman dropped the album, it was like, yo, these niggas can't lose right now. You had Das's album, you coming off EPMD's fourth album with Crossover and Headbanger and all of that, and
had some joints.
Oh, Your Mom's in My Business, like all that shit, man, was just crazy. And like you said, that's definitely the hip hop breakup that affected me the most, was that EPMD joint right there. What's the last one, good brother?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh no, y'all said all the ones that I was gonna say, especially the last one Vern said. That was mine. That was it.
You think anything can bring R&B back? And here's the thing. Before you go off, I know it's still here, but I'm talking about on a bigger level. I'm not talking about on my you got to dig in the crates and.
I think now it's become more. It's just about the money and not the music anymore. And you got the executives in there that's not caring about how the music sounds. So as long as we have that, we're gonna be in the same predicament that we're at now. And until then, if we get some executives, like again, we need the dudes like Irv Gotti that was up in there. We need dudes like I can't stand this dude, but Puff. You need dudes up in there that's gonna fight for what it is, and we don't have that. They for the money now. They just like, hey, look, we going on Instagram. You got 1 million followers. We gonna sign you. You good? Let's do this. You might sound like a freaking goat, but at the end of the day, they gonna sign you because you gonna make the money for them. But I mean, until then, we need executives and that's why it bothers me with the whole, how they kind of be clowning the OGs. I'm like, we need that. We need guys like that in our record labels now. You know what I'm saying? So,
but here's the thing. Let me ask a question. Because what's going to happen? Jasmine Sullivan's supposed to be dropping a new album in January, right?
Yes.
All right, now we all know Jazz can sing. She's from the crib, love Jazz to death. Here's the only problem. It's gonna drop and people are gonna talk about it for 24 to 48 hours, and then we're right back to everything else. Why do you think these artists can't take the indie route? You know, Sha talked about how, you know, they can do the indie route. Grab, Ed, we're all talking about the indie route. Why do you think more singers who are great singers can't succeed in the independent route? Or is it just no matter what it is, the indie route, you can never break through the mainstream? Is that what it is?
Especially, yeah, because you got to realize it's a lot that comes along with the machine.
Right.
It's a machine that needs to be pushed, and a lot of our artists don't have that. I mean, Jasmine Sullivan was signed to Jay. She was signed to Jay. Clive got her. So even if, you know what I'm saying, she had everything with her first album, it was pushed, everything was fine, but the album only went gold. And for Jasmine's first album, that album should have definitely went platinum for real. But again, he put all the money behind her. He did all this, and look where it got her. So
is it just that the fans, the majority of the fans are younger? So even if a label pushed a great album, the majority of the fans just want to hear SZA, her.
That's just what they throw. As soon as Jasmine's come out, they throwing her in urban contemporary. They throwing her at urban AC. That's where she goes.
So do we need to be mad at the old heads like us who aren't buying Jasmine's album? Do we need to be mad at that? Because
I think we actually are buying it, because I'm saying when you go to her tour, she's selling out. So something is wrong here, because it's like
selling out the Howard. Like selling out the Howard ain't selling out the Verizon Center. Like, you know, the Howard man.
Honest though. Let's be honest. Even though people say they sell out the Verizon Center, they don't really sell it out.
But it's bigger than the Howard.
There. That's her core audience. You know what I'm saying? So it's tough. You know what I'm saying? And then again, hip hop started to take over. So that really kind of pushed R&B to the side as well, too.
I just want people to come with their receipts, because everybody who says R&B is dead, I want them to come with their receipts with the new Jasmine Sullivan CD and with the receipt that you brought it, because people talk shit. Old people talk shit. People think I just don't like the young folk. I don't like old people talk shit either. So if you want to support the music, then buy the music. Like I tell people, until you can show me you own at least 3 Roots albums, like pull them out, don't talk to me about Black Thought. Like that's my league minimum, the requirement, because you can't say you're a fan of a person, but you don't own none of their shit. You know,
also the fact that they not, as far as albums not selling how it is either, because streaming has affected that too. So our artists is not even making money off the albums that they used to anyway.
But that's the thing that I feel like us older, we have to understand that. We have to understand that Jasmine, if we want to support Jasmine and get these whisper emoji singers the fuck up out of here, we gotta buy the album. We can't just stream it. We gotta. Right. Like, that's it. And if you're not buying the album, then shut the fuck up, because you're part of the problem. That's just really what it comes down
to. To say this, you got to look at it almost as like a stock market. They're looking at it like a stock market. So if that stock, aka Jasmine Sullivan's album, don't move, they're not going to pay attention to that stock. You see what I'm saying? They're going to move with the cookie cutter stock. You know what I mean? Like, because we know that we've created this formula, so we know this formula is going to work. You know what I mean? Whereas this young lady is a real voice, which is outside of the most likely outside of the formula. You know what I mean? Because a lot of those other chicks, you know, they all right, but they all sound the same. You know what I mean? They either like Rihanna or Beyonce. And so I'm saying that to say, you know, a lot of it is capitalism, man.
Facts.
You know, what moves the financial meter, yo, more than what moves your soul meter. You know what I mean?
That's just my challenge for folk, that if you say you fuck with R&B music, buy this new Jasmine Sullivan album. Like, this should be the list. It's coming out in January 2021. We about to get our goddamn stimulus checks. Put $20 aside and buy Jasmine's album if you want to say, you know, R&B is dead. Eddie, you about to say something?
I forgot. It's all right.
I got something for you, Q.
Sorry, Vern, you were about to say something too.
Yeah, I wanted to piggyback and ask JR this, and I know the answer to it, but when is the last time, or are we ever going to get some dope R&B groups again?
No, and that's back to what it is. I don't think the labels really want to. They don't want to deal with a group because a group, you got too many problems. You got this. You got different personalities. Then you got so much to pay for a group and all this kind of mess. And we need that because I feel like the groups are the backbone of R&B anyway. You know what I'm saying? As long as we had our groups, our solo artists was able to really succeed. Right. So it's like, with us not having our groups, it's like, where's the backbone? There's nothing. You know what I mean? We just got these solo artists and that's it. And it's like, where's these groups at? Like, where they at? You know what I mean? But the labels is not trying to deal with that. And then the labels are getting cut anyway because everybody's going independent. So,
and the other problem too with groups is, let's just say we Apartment 5B and we a group. We all know Porsche going solo. So why the fuck we even playing? Why we messing around? Like, you know she going solo. You know the label. We done seen this movie. I done seen the 5 Heartbeats. I seen the Temptations. I've seen the movie. Like, Porsche is going solo. So why all of us? Why we all going?
It's hilarious.
So it's almost like, why form a group when we know Bobby gonna go solo? Like, why are we gonna do this to us?
And then me, Vern, and JR could form BBD. You know?
Y'all gonna be DJ, and then my ass just left chilling. Like, so me and Grant, just the producer, sitting around, don't know what to do now. So it's almost like, why become the group? Because essentially, you know, we gonna break up anyway. So why even waste the time? Porsche, just do your solo and maybe throw me and Grant a track every now and then, and you know, get Eddie, Sherrod, and Vern and JR to do backgrounds for you. But
terrible. Look, we're gonna sound terrible when the police pull us over.
Yeah,
that sounds hard, man. Put them in handcuffs, damn it.
It's gonna be cool. Hey,
yeah, kill gonna be finished, yo. Y'all better not leave us.
Right.
We need that 7-part harmony.
I like to think of Apartment 5Bs. They accepted me as their sister.
Yeah,
it's not hard. And the album is coming out this week.
Solo LP.
Slowly at the top.
Right. So I think that's the other problem.
We're in the loan office.
It's like, why we gonna form a group if we already know Porsche is going solo? So you know, it is what it is.
Solo.
JR, give me the stuff, good brother. Where can they get at the R&B representative?
The R&B reps on R&B representatives on Twitter, R&B representatives on Instagram, JR's World of Soul, Natalie Elise on Instagram and Twitter. And then our website is rnbreps.com.
All right. And we're getting them on next week. You and Elise on next week. So that's gonna be a dope.
All right. Okay, yeah.
You looking shocked. We just talked about it.
Right. You just hit, yeah, right. My bad.
Youngest soul brother, where can we get it? But more importantly, where can we get them shirts at, man? The Mount Vernon.
BOMV t-shirts, humblemonarch.com/shop. They on there. Grab you one if you want. You know what I mean? Please, you know, I'll be appreciated. My Twitter is Hev Named Me Grap. HEVNAMEDMEGRAP. Hev Named Me Grap. One social media at a time. That's where you can kind of find me. I may go 0 dark 30 in a few days on that joint for a minute because you know I need a little detox.
I feel you, good bro.
Yeah, but other than that, yeah, y'all can hit me there. You know what I mean? Show love, whatever the case. Ask questions, whatever the case.
And like I said earlier, when Ecstasy passed away, I said, yo, fuck Google. I'm your friend. If you want to know about Houdini, just get at me. That's your friend right there when it comes to anything Heavy D, anything Mount Vernon. If you got a question, don't Google it because who the hell knows who wrote the Google article you're going to find. Just come straight to the source right there. Eddie, where can they get at you, good brother? So it's all about freestyles.com.
Just real quick, Kill, before we go to Eddie, I just wanted to say I posted something on Twitter about an album, a Sun Ra album and it had a song on there called Hip Hop Breakdown. I'm thinking that it may not be a real record, so I apologize for posting that. I saw it on a episode of Shangri-La with Rick Rubin. Another guy tweeted with me, and we talked about it, and he was basically saying it could be Rick Rubin pranking, because I went to someone who's not our friend, Google, and looked around and didn't see nothing. So my next step is to ask Pete to ask Madlib about it. I'm gonna ask Pete about it, and if he don't know about it, I'm gonna see if he can ask Madlib about it and see if it's real. But I didn't see it anyway. So it was supposed to be like a 1968 album with the words Hip Hop Breakdown on it. So it would literally be like the first real mention of hip hop.
Okay.
Yeah.
No doubt. Eddie, give me anything, good brother.
All right. So on Twitter, it's EddieD80. My Instagram is tied into my website now, so it's Freed Styles, FreedStyles. So I talked about it last time I was on here, but my website and my new Instagram page is really about promoting and celebrating independent artists. So I've been posting reviews, I've been posting clips. If someone drops a single, someone drops a video, I'm putting it up there promoting. I got a new series. Actually, JR is in my latest video. Basically, I reach out to hip hop heads, artists, podcasters. Man was like, "Yo, what's your earliest and fondest hip hop memories?" I got a lot of dope responses. And JR is in my latest one that I posted. So check it out, man. I'm just doing stuff, and I'm gonna keep going, man. It's my way of giving back to the culture and music that I love.
That's dope. I apologize, good brother. I forgot about it with all this Christmas shit. I'm gonna get a video over to you ASAP, brother. So I apologize for that. Vern, the closer. If you're in Atlanta, this is the man who you need to buy a house with. He's selling houses like crack during a pandemic. So that tells you a lot about this man's hustle right there.
Big bro, hustler, yeah.
On Instagram at V the Loan Closer, Twitter V Chandler 10. Get at me.
And just know and trust and believe there's going to be a lot of Atlanta Hawks talk going on from his account. So just know that it's up and coming. Sha, are you on Twitter? Are you on social media?
Yeah, but no.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever tweeted.
Okay, well then, if you want to get a Sha, just keep coming back to the show. I'm gonna keep kidnapping them to get them on the show.
Send a smoke signal or carry a picture.
I'll make sure it gets to him. Porsche, again, hates Drake, loves Troy. It's very simple, mofos. Hates Drake, loves Troy. You can't fuck that up, but I bet you all will. Porsche, they do. Porsche.
On Twitter at Cherchez Porsche. That's pretty much it.
All right, and then also me and Porsche, and prayerfully we could get these Android users on Clubhouse every Monday at 9:30. We will be on Clubhouse. We will have a different topic. Dope time the other night. Porsche came up with a dope topic. She put it together. I just love being able to interact with all the people that watch the show and love the show and actually talk with us and everything like that. So just, we're going to be doing that every Monday from 9:30 on. So throw it on your calendars. Come in, chop it up with us, all that good stuff. You already know it is with me, Kill889 on Twitter, IG. We'll make beatsforfood.com. I will check y'all next week, y'all.
Thank you, guys.
Hey, Kill.
Later.